interventions that have led to fights actually happening. There's a huge amount of I guess risk, for lack of a better term, that we're taking on as we're really working with the athlete's best interest at heart and doing everything we can to support that athlete to be more consistent and to be able to do it longer in their career, so that they could do the best for themselves, for the family, and for I guess the UFC.
Beautiful. Anything, Duncan, to add to that?
No, I mean, this is a trip, you know, in terms of where we're at with the Performance Institute. Our ambition is to really affect and support the global fight community. That's what we're about. Hopefully, moving forward here, people are going to see the value of what we're trying to do.
Well, I think they already see the value. I certainly do. I'm very excited that you guys are around.
I thought it was going to be a waste of money.
It's definitely going to be a waste of money, but in a good way. What does that mean, though, right? It would cost money, but I think ultimately it's great for the sport, for sure. And it's just an amazing resource, and I'm glad you're a part of it too, man. It really means a lot. It means a lot to have God's former champion who's been there since Ultimate Fighter Season 1. And it's going to be your fight. I mean, everybody says it's fact. Your fight with Stephen Bonner.
I said at least once a day.
That fucking fight made the sport.
What, you were in the...
He was in a fight once. That fight made the sport, man. It really did. The fight was so crazy. People were calling up their friends like, when they start doing the Nielsen numbers are all shenanigans, right? You get like 100 people that are checking they don't really know who the fuck watching that. But they know that something crazy happened in that fight. I mean, they have estimates that there was as much as 6 million people changed and started tuning into that fight while it was happening. They don't know what the real numbers are, but it was chaos. And then afterwards, I never saw anything like it. It was like all of a sudden, people wanted to watch the UFC. It was almost instantaneous. The season finale, the Ultimate Fighter went on the air, and then the door opened, and people started pouring through. It was crazy, man. And that's you and Stephen Bonner. You guys are responsible for literally the birth of this explosion that we're all seeing right now. We're seeing with the ESPN deal. We're seeing with these incredible fights.
No, it's cool, and I love that I got to kind of be that cornerstone. But now that the UFC itself starts today, it's only building. That was the beginning. There's so much more to come.
There's so much more to come, but you're a bad month off the forest. You were there.
Just don't ever do jiu-jitsu or wrestling. Good work.
You fall on people. But seriously, I'm super happy you guys exist. It's awesome for me. It's a treat for me as a fan to work out with you and to learn all the inside stuff. It's very exciting. So thank you. Much continued success, gentlemen.
Please come visit us again.
I would love it.
I'd love it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you everyone for tuning into the show, and thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Quip, my all-time favorite toothbrush, backed by over 20,000 dental professionals. Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to quip.com/Rogan, you can get your first refill pack for free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's get your first refill pack for free at GETQUIP. Hello, friends. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Traeger Grills. Traeger Grills is, but this is the problem. You're not dealing with honest people. When people are trying to categorize you as alt-right, or they're trying to put you into this category of internet goon, they're quote tweet, they're taking some little tiny phrase that you said 7 years ago and trying to say this is you. This is you now. That's such a disingenuous thing to do.
I hate it, and I hate it across the aisle, by the way. Like, I was a defender of James Gunn. I thought James Gunn shouldn't have been fired from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I thought so too. They were just dumb jokes.
Right, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And even when somebody tweeted something bad like 10 years ago, bringing it up now is not an attempt to actually make the public space better. And you're not actually offended by that thing the person tweeted 10 years ago that you didn't notice. What it is that you want to get rid of this person or hurt this person. So you're going to bring up something from 10 years ago, and then you're going to try and club them into submission with it. Because if you actually ask them their opinion about it, they might have a more nuanced view on what they said. Maybe they apologize. Maybe they think, I don't remember saying that.
Right.
I mean, I felt the same way, by the way. I try to be consistent. I really do about this stuff. I said the same thing about, for example, Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, who was excoriated for having this terrible racist photo on his yearbook page back in medical school in 1987. And people were saying, well, this is evidence he's racist now. It's like, well, no, that's evidence that he was doing a racist thing then. That's not evidence that he's racist now. You sort of have to look at the broad course of his career. And he ended up doing what everyone now does, which is you just don't apologize for anything. You just try to pass it off as nothing. Public speech is actually getting worse. Because let's say that you did something bad in the past. There are a few human responses too. I did something I don't like in the past. Human response number one is, you know what? I apologize. That was wrong. These days, that gets your face stepped up. But you say, I apologize. I was wrong. It means, well, why did you do it in the first place? Because you're a bad person. Apologies are not accepted. And then number two is you brazen it out. You do the Trump. You go, well, I never did anything wrong. Never did. Right? And that creates your defenders and surround you. And then nothing ever gets cleansed. Or opportunity number three is you do what Barack Obama did, which is you come out preemptively and you try to remember all the bad stuff you do and then confess it in public. So in dreams from my father, he says, right, well, when I was back in high school, whoa. And everyone's like, oh, okay, so he did cocaine when he was in high school. That's cool. Whereas if it comes out during the campaign, then stone, right? Then he's got a real problem. The problem is that right now, even if you preemptively come out and say I did something wrong, like, for example, Liam Neeson talking about years ago when he had a racist thought, if he didn't act on, and he had a racist thought. This is now, we're going to try and ruin your career for something that you admit was bad, that you did 30 years ago. We're going to try and win you over that. If you apologize for something that you did 30 years ago, which you would prefer just after the fact because it was embarrassing and stupid, then we say you're bad. And so all you're left with is like the most shameless people in the world who are in public space. Right? The incentive structure is deeply shameless. To just say, yeah, man, I own that, and it was great when I said it. Or I didn't say it at all. You're just full of it. I never said that stuff. Who are you going to believe? Your eyes are me. And it makes for a really bad politics.
Well, it's just this, the culture of going after people, things, and finding anything to categorize them as someone who's a viable target. This is what I've seen thrust your way. It's like, there's nothing wrong with being conservative. There's something wrong with wanting everyone to think the way you think, though. This is the difference. What I like that you do is you debate your points, you state your positions, you have a philosophy. And what I don't like is when people try to pretend that philosophy is somehow hateful or somehow regressive or something like that you condemn people for their thoughts. You don't. This is not what I see with you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the accuracy. I think that's true. I mean, I've come out against virtually every Twitter ban, including people who personally targeted me. I've come out against that. I've come out against virtually every.
Wait, now let's talk about that because what are your thoughts about this idea of the platform? And this is something that we were just discussing before the podcast, where the CEO of YouTube and Kara Swisher.
Yeah, from Recode, I think.
Kara Swisher, they were talking about removing you from YouTube, and I thought it was the CEO of YouTube. It was actually Kara who said, I really fucked it.
Yeah, because her son apparently listens to.
That's kind of funny. If she's being funny saying, okay, but it was. I thought it was the CEO of YouTube.
She was trying to imply that she was trying to do the same thing that they do with you or with Dave Rubin or Jordan Peterson, which is that anybody who is sort of heterodox, because in that group, I think I'm the only rich Republican. Anybody who's heterodox is now being portrayed as meaning just thinks differently from kind of down the line Democratic Party platform. You're not like down the line. You're like Sam Harris is a Democrat. Sam Harris is heterodox because he disagrees that Islam is by necessity a religion,
Right.
or he thinks that we have to look at actual statistics in order to make evidentiary claims about discrimination and disparity, and this makes him an enemy of people like this reply to Vox.com. Right? This sort of stuff, they then sit in your fear for white supremacy. Right? They can't actually get you on what to say. So it turns into, well, some members of our audience do things that are really bad. And then, well, dude, I have like millions of people who are members of my audience. I have 5 million Facebook followers. I have 2 million on Twitter. And you're way bigger than I am. I assume that some of those people are going to be crazy.
No, well, this is what YouTube tried to do, the comment thing. Where YouTube is going to try to make people responsible for the comments in their videos, which, what is a normal, Jamie, like a normal video that we get, how many comments do we get? How the fuck? Am I supposed to have some dude with his itchy trigger finger stand by in front of a keyboard just waiting for something offensive to pop up? And this was in response to something that happened with them where there was pedophiles who were watching videos of children doing things, and they were commenting stuff in the, like children's gymnastics and stuff like that. They were commenting and like communicating with each other through the comments. And it was sort of discovered that there was this connection. They were doing this in many videos, and YouTube rightly panicked. They're like, holy shit, we have to stop this. So the response, I guess, was we just have to make people responsible for their comments. Someone said, oh yeah, good idea. They didn't think through it all.
Right.
Certain people can't do that.
It's totally insane, and it's insane in virtually every respect. And it's funny how it's only applied kind of by the media on one side of the aisle. So to take an example, congressional baseball shooting happened a couple of years ago. I happens to be a Bernie fan. Is that Bernie Sanders' fault?
Right.
No, that is not Bernie Sanders' fault.
That went away.
Right.
Literally, people stopped talking about it.
And that was shooting of legislators, like 50 people.
Yeah.
One nearly died, and that kind of went away. You don't talk about Bernie's responsibility, but there's a shooting in Christchurch, and it's Jordan Peterson's fault. Yeah. And Jordan Peterson has no relationship with the shooter whatsoever. It's my fault. I have no relationship with the shooter. It denounced everything that piece of crap stands for, and suddenly it's really ugly, and it will come from this. I mean, here's what's going to happen: is Facebook and YouTube are going to fall prey to their own standard, because if their standard is that you're responsible for followers, or I'm responsible for my followers, or Jordan, or anybody else is responsible for all the people who view their stuff. Okay, then why is Facebook responsible for all the people posting on its platform? If they are, right, Facebook becomes responsible for all the people posting on its platform, they'll be bankrupt in a week. They've got a problem. They really do, because they have to decide whether they are a platform or whether they are a do-gooder publication. Right? I run a publication, Daily Wire, so I'm a conservative, we make no bones about that, and we are responsible for the content that appears on our platform. And if we say something defamatory, we'll be sued. If we say something that is false, then we'll be sued, presumably. If you post something false on Facebook, Facebook doesn't get sued. But now Facebook has deemed itself a morality police, and they'll ban people they don't like, and will decide what editorially ought to be elevated and what ought not to be elevated. Does that sound more like a phone company to you? Or does that sound more like my website where I decide what to publish? And what doesn't, right? Because Facebook's case for exemption from laws is, well, we're like a phone company, right? When you're on the phone with somebody, that person says criminal, AT&T isn't responsible for the person saying something criminal or terrible. It's just the phone company.
Right.
But Facebook isn't doing that. Facebook is jumping into the middle of conversations and then saying, well, we don't really like this conversation, so we're just going to kind of shut it down. Not because of legal threat, but because you just don't like it.
So are they actually doing that? Like, say if you put a post up on Facebook and they don't like the way you worded things or described things, will they actually shut down your post? What will they do?
So they've done it in the past to some conservative public. It's pretty controversial.
Right.
I can tell you that at the beginning of 2018, we lost about 35% of our traffic because Facebook started tracking data on mostly conservative sites. They said there was news sites generally, but that's not what the statistics show. They're doing it more often with things that we all sort of agree are bad. Right? We all agree white supremacy is bad, white nationalism is bad. Now they say they're going to censor that stuff. But here's where I'm uncomfortable. I think that stuff is awful and evil, and I think those people are the ones, they're the reason I have personal security. But once you get into the business of Facebook gets to decide which speech is good and which speech is bad, they're an editor. They're an editor. Even if I agree with their assessment of what stuff is good and what is bad, I'm not comfortable with them in the driver's seat there. And if they are going to be in the driver's seat, then they should be held liable for all the stuff that's on their platform. Why is it Twitter, same thing, right? Why is it that Louis Farrakhan is still on that platform, but Alex Jones is not? Right? I don't like Alex Jones' material. I've been very, very critical of Alex Jones. I didn't think you should get him down. But unless
assessed whether or not your argument does hold up against scrutiny. Because this is also part of the problem. And when you're in an echo chamber, you often don't formulate these arguments very well. Like when you confront people about certain biased beliefs that they have, and you have an opposing belief, if they're part of a bubble, like sometimes they might not have even ever considered some of the things you have to say. I've seen that with some of your videos.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen all the time, and with sophisticated people. Right? I spent my entire life, literally my entire life, in areas where everyone disagrees with me.
Yeah.
I grew up in LA. I went to Harvard Law School for 3 years. I was in Cambridge, where everyone disagreed with me, and then I came back to LA. So I have never spent more than a week at a time in a red state.
Have
right?
you ever?
They're cleaning up over there.
Values moved in one way or another. They shifted at all.
My personal values probably haven't shifted very much, but my political values have shifted libertarian. I mean, so I used to be a proponent of criminalization of marijuana. I'm no longer. I've been in favor of
What changed that for you?
A couple of things. One was just a general sense that government sucks at everything, and the more I see the government try to crack down on things, the more prevalent it becomes. I mean, people were dealing pot on my 6th grade, 7th grade playground in public school. So obviously, like that was
LA.
Yeah, exactly. And then
it's terrible.
A general perception not only that the government sucks at everything, but that you got to own your own actions, and also examine more of the evidence about the impact of pot on people's lives. And you know, again, there's you ruining your own life for the use of drugs, and there's drugs that literally ruin other people's lives. Right? There are drugs that remove your ability to even reason or think. I think there are only two reasons to criminalize drugs in any fashion. One is if there are drugs like, for example, PCP that legitimately make you violent, and then you are going out committing acts of violence against people. Then there's
They're all staring at me.
A drug where it legitimately robs you of your capacity to reason. If you're a bit
Are you not entertained?
But even there, I'm not sure that
Are you not entertained?
criminalization, because we criminalized it and it's still incredibly prevalent. So
I agree with you on that, and I agree with you in terms of drug being extremely detrimental. And the other part is that there are comparable drugs
Fuck's
that are
sake.
legal. And comparable drugs meaning not even really comparable drugs that are far more devastating, like alcohol. But you could just go to any grocery store and buy a jug of whiskey and kill yourself.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
And
Just drink
we
the
have
whole
laws on
thing
the
to
books
death.
already that prevent externalities,
Yeah.
you drive heists, and driving drunk, so I'm not sure that you need additional laws to do that. And also, I'm not opposed to zoning laws. I don't think the hot shots should go out right next to my house. They're residential zoning. That's fine.
Same with liquor stores, though.
Right. I don't want a liquor store right next to my house. This is correct.
Yeah.
And so I become libertarian in some ways on that sort of stuff. The same thing is true, by the way, when it comes to the issue of same-sex marriage. So on a personal moral level, I'm opposed to same-sex marriage. I'm Orthodox too.
Oh
and
my
I believe
Christ.
that a man and a woman were made for each other. When it comes to government involvement, I don't think anybody's business. I think a lot of things. I think adultery is bad too. I don't think the government ought to get involved in adultery. I'm so strict. I don't think premarital sex is anything. I've been very vocal about this. I was a virgin until I was married. My wife was a virgin until she was married. It's a good thing. Do I think the government has anything to do with any of those things? No, I don't. I don't think it's any of the government's business. It's consensual activity. There are no externalities. So what exactly is the government getting involved in? And when the government gets involved in stuff, then there are externalities. Right? Once the government starts to cram down information on people, then you start to get unintended externalities. So for example, with legalization, my view on marriage is that the government should get completely out of it. I don't think the government should be involved in straight marriage. I don't think it should be involved in gay marriage. I think the government should be out.
I agree 100%.
And the reason that I say that is because as a religious person, I believe in traditional marriage. I have two marriage certificates. I have one from the state that I don't give 2 crowns back, one in my garage. And then I have my religious marriage certificate, which meant among other things that I got to show my wife, right? I mean, like, this was the one that mattered to me. And I think that's true for most religious people. The religious ceremony matters a lot more than the state
Ah,
thing.
right.
And the state isn't incentivizing marriage. Well, getting married, yeah, you need a tax break. So that's a bunch of nonsense. Once the government decides what version of marriage it wants to push, that then comes into conflict with other values. So for example, once the state of California decides that same-sex marriage is on the par with heterosexual marriage, now I'm worried about the externality of I have a religious day school, or I have my synagogue. My synagogue is a religious institution, doesn't approve of same-sex marriage. Now is the government going to come in and tell my synagogue how it ought to act with regard to same-sex marriage? I don't think that's the government's business. How about everybody gets basically what they want, associate with whom they want. And it's not the government's business. It seems like a pretty good, happy meet.
I'm so glad you talked about the 2 things I want to talk to you about, but I'm sure we disagree. One of them being marijuana, and the other one being dating. So let's start with the marijuana. Do you think marijuana ruins people's lives? Is that one of your contentions?
Well, I think it can, and I think it's.
Have you ever had any experience with marijuana?
No, I'm just talking about statistical overuse of marijuana among teenagers does have detrimental brain effects that have
Yes.
some long-term aftereffects.
It's pretty proven, and that's one of the things that I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to cover that with you in the middle of the way after we were joking around about 6th and 7th graders selling pot. Don't smoke pot while you're young. You really should. It's not good for the development of your brain. Same thing with drinking. You know, I didn't smoke a lot of pot when I was a kid. I did it a handful of times until I was 30 years old, but I did drink a bunch of times when I was 19 in high school. It's terrible for brain development, especially before you're 25 and your frontal cortex isn't even fully formed. Your frontal lobe is like this. It's a developing thing. There's an article recently that I posted from BBC that was saying that you probably shouldn't be considered an adult until you're 30.
Right, they're saying brain development doesn't even stop until you're 26.
Oh,
That's why we're saying, let's lower the voting age to
Yes.
16. Like,
What the fuck are you talking
What
about?
in the
Yeah,
world?
when I was 16, I was a chimp. You know, I mean, at least I was a chimp in high school. Now, but the problem that I have with many people's perceptions of marijuana is that it's based on things that's meaning no personal experience. You know, and
listen, I'll admit, I have no personal
no,
experience
you
with
don't.
marijuana, so
I know you don't.
I'm not being
Oh, shit,
man, I've seen the effect on stock prices, which will get high in the
Oh,
studio.
they jump up, man. They jump down for a little bit. A bunch of chickens jump off the boat, then they come right back up. The marijuana thing is, in my opinion, it's another one of those things where people have this categorized box that they like to put marijuana users in. Like, this is the category: lazy, stoner, stupid, delusional.
It's too widespread for that. I mean, there are people I know who are doctors.
Yes.
So,
Well, there's the jiu-jitsu community. There's a giant percentage of the jiu-jitsu community that does jiu-jitsu high. They have competitions.
Sounds like more hardy.
No, it's not, man. I'm telling you, because it's not what people think it is. If you've never smoked marijuana, this is going to be a very difficult thing to grasp. But marijuana enhances jiu-jitsu because it eliminates the rest of the world. When you're rolling is, like, say, if you and Jimmy practice rolling, you slap hands, and then you go. You try to choke hands, you try to hit an arm bar, and you go after that. When you do that on marijuana, it's like you don't think of anything else other than those movements, and it becomes like this very intense meditation violence. Like, it's not violent in terms of, most of the time, it won't really hurt. Like, you get to the point where, one of the beautiful things about jiu-jitsu is you can grab a hold of someone, you choke them to the point where they're going to go to sleep. Like, you would kill them if you kept going. You tap, bring your friends in, and everybody's cool. And you try to do it to me, and I try to do it to you, and you really can do it reasonably hard without people getting hurt. It happens every day all over the world. A lot of people are high. And they're doing this jiu-jitsu practice, and it's almost like it's a transcendent state.
if you can tell people are using marijuana, I don't care.
And so the perceptions are off.
So, I mean, I would assume there's a small subset of the population for whom that's not true, right? Who are overusing marijuana.
Yes.
And
That's probably the majority, in fact.
okay, so then, but
I
again,
don't think
that's
that's
the
the same way with food.
I don't think there's anything we disagree about here because I'm not talking about criminalizing marijuana use. I think that we should honestly discuss evidence that for a subset of the population there is some evidence that marijuana is addictive. It's not everybody who's on marijuana. The vast majority of people on marijuana are not addicted to marijuana.
I think
In the same way, alcohol is about alcohol.
there's people who are going to be addicted to almost anything. And I think there's absolutely people who are addicted to sugar, for sure. People that are addicted to nicotine and alcohol, all those things we let people have.
The criminal addictiveness to marijuana is not comparable to opioids.
It's not even comparable to alcohol or nicotine. It seems to be very rare when people become physically addicted, like extremely rare. And what's common, though, is abuse. And it's common common in everything human beings consume. It's abuse is common, as you said, with food, certainly common with alcohol, certainly common with pills.
But this is why I really believe the way to solve some of these problems is a social fabric problem. It's a parenting problem, it's a social fabric problem, it's a personal choice problem.
Yes.
That's why virtually every solution has to be someone. You know, I'm constantly, conservatives like me, or libertarian leaning, are constantly accused of being non-compassionate. No, it's just our compassion is going to go. It's like we're going to encourage people to make bad decisions with their lives. If you choose not to do that, it's a free country.
Well, you know, coming from a religious background, you have this community that reinforces this kind of behavior and thought. And I think that's one of the major, really one of the best benefits of religion, is that moral fabric and that community, the sense of community, even the silly ones like Mormons. They're the nicest folks, right? They believe something that is fucking patently insane. If you go and read the Joseph Smith text from 1820 when he was 14 years old, the shit that he wrote.
I try not to see this practical insanity after a funny hat all day.
I hear you. Well,
Yeah, but you know, with that said, I mean, Alexis de Tocqueville talks about this early on in the American Republic. The idea is that what makes America very different is the idea you don't need a big government. You do have a social fabric. You feel like they're at least oriented toward a common goal. It's one of the problems that I think we have in the country. I'm not sure people are oriented toward even a common sense of conversation. I mean, it's, you have to agree on everything in order to have a common sense of the important values that unify the country. Sure.
Yes.
And I always use Sam Harris as sort of a pedalar because he's obviously a novelist atheist. I'm a strong believer. And yet, when it comes to things that we'd like to see happen in the country, not on a government policy level, but on a conversation level, and just on an evidence level, we're on the same page. There are certain core assumptions you have to make in order for that to happen. What I agree about America and the West is that those core assumptions are built on Judeo-Christian foundations. Sam's core argument seems to be that they're built on evolutionary biology. We differ a little bit there.
I don't want to let this marijuana thing go. One of the things I wanted to bring up to you was this idea that if you're a religious person, don't you think that there's certain things that maybe God put here for us to consume, to change your perspective, to allow you to reach new levels of consciousness? I think it's entirely possible that some of these things that are here, I know you have experience with, they might literally have been put there by God. And there's some evidence to say that a lot of the texts from the Bible, that in particular, there was the University of Tel Aviv, somewhere in Jerusalem, where these scholars were trying to decipher what it meant when Moses encountered the burning bush. And they believed that it may have been the acacia tree, which is very rich in phenolphthalein, which is a psychedelic substance, that actually the brain produces. It's very common in plants. And they think that this might have been, when he met God, when God was burning bush, that this might have been some crude translation of them being involved in some sort of psychedelic experience. Now, it sounds outlandish unless you've had that psychedelic experience. But when you have, you very well could think that you were in a conversation with God. This is on Earth. And this is something that may very well have been lost information, or this may very well have been ritual that people participated in to bring you closer together and to reinforce that sense of community that you do get from the church and you do get from a group of people that share more beliefs and values. And there's real good discussion that a lot of these experiences that became these religious doctrines came from psychedelic experiences. Now, as someone who's never experienced that before, I know this is probably a very strange thing to try to even wrap your head around. It is entirely alien until you experience it, but it might very well be religious.
I mean, I've heard that from other people who've been using those kinds of. I mean, Sam actually made this argument to me too about using psychedelics. And I mean, maybe.
God made apples.
Well, okay, so
right?
this argument, I will say, I'm not super fond of the argument that God made something and therefore it's ours to use for. I mean, like, I can kosher, right? Like, God made pigs, I don't need it. So I am not a huge fan of the argument that because something is here, or because the urge is natural, therefore we ought to imbibe, or therefore we ought to participate in a particular activity. Or one of the things that I'm very big on, I'm a rationalist when it comes to religion, as much as you can be a rationalist with regard to religion, to the extent that I think that it's up to us to use our reasonable faculties to determine the proper use of things. So, which is why you shouldn't overuse drugs, even if you're going to use drugs for
This is part of the problem of making things illegal. When you make things illegal, then you really don't know what it is or how it affects the body or what's the right dose or the wrong dose. And then people get involved in these terrible situations where they're taking things they're just guessing.
I mean, there's truth there, but it's also true that on a social level, I'm not talking about legal because we totally agree on the legal level. On a social level, there's a couple things that are true of, for example, the Orthodox Jewish community. Don't raise addiction because people have that social fabric and don't feel the necessity. Also, as you say, substance use in moderation can actually be quite a good thing. So low rates of alcoholism in the Jewish community, and part of that is the fact that you are getting finished wine every time you're a kid, right? I mean, you actually are.
Oh my gosh.
The idea is that in its proper context, this could be a good thing. So I'll admit, I don't know enough about the proper context of marijuana to know when to get it. And so
it can be a good thing. This is what I'm telling you.
And also, the truth is, I don't enjoy drinking. I'm not a drinker. I don't enjoy. I like reality. I like living in reality. I like experiencing it totally sober. So I've never really felt the urge to do any of that stuff. I hear the pitch. But I've never really felt the interior desire or need.
I completely understand that. I think that what we're dealing with, though, is perceptions that have been molded by laws that were shaped by tyrants. That's what I think.
I mean, again, that's totally possible and plausible.
Yeah. But it's historically accurate. I mean, when it comes to prohibition with alcohol didn't work. Prohibition with drugs is just making the cartels bigger. It's causing more problems for organized crime.
On a practical level,
I think our perceptions of what is good for you and is bad for you was also based on laws that the government created ignorant. The Sweeping Psychedelic Act of 1970, which made virtually everything psychedelic. That they missed a few things, you can slip to the crack, but all of the tryptamines, and most of them, psilocybin, LSD, all that stuff was made completely illegal. People really didn't even know what it was. And a lot of that is why we base our ideas of what's good or bad for you. It's based on what is legal and what other people have done with it.
This area, I'll admit, not only experientially,
Oh my Christ.
So I haven't examined the evidence. I really don't have strong opinions on any of this
I
stuff.
think it's one of the bridges that we all could use between conservative thought and liberal thought, particularly for people that are dying. It's one of the things that Johns Hopkins found, and there's been other studies done, and there's been therapy done on people that are dying of terminal diseases and give them psilocybin. And when they give them these mushroom trips, they have these beautiful experiences where they completely accept death. It's almost a universal reaction to it. The amount of people who still experience a positive benefit months and months after the experience while they're dying. They say this was an incredibly moving and powerful moment in my life that allowed me to accept that it's done.
I mean, listen, if that's something that works for people, that's what it's designed to do. Like,
I don't know if it's designed.
Well,
If it's designed, it might be designed by God.
But
Like, it literally might.
that's fine. I mean, I think there's also the generalized religious counter-argument. There are no shortcuts to happiness. So let's pose
That's
a
not
sort
really
of
a shortcut. I don't think
well,
it's
this is
a
the question,
shortcut.
right? I mean, like, let's say that I could guarantee you that tomorrow you're going to be a happier person. All you have to do is take this regimen of drugs that you're going to take every day.
Oh my.
And it's going to make you a happier person, a more well-rounded person, but it's going to permanently change your brain chemistry. Is that something that you think is good, or is it something you think is bad? Because from a religious perspective, there's an argument to be made that this is work you need to do on yourself without outside aid. It's possible. If there's a case where you can, then you can. But
Yeah, you know, Terrence
interesting thought experiment.
McKenna had a line about that. He said that there was a joke about there was a monk and he met Buddha. Buddha came to town. He said, Buddha, you want to impress him? He said, I practiced the city of levitation, and I've done this for 10 years, and now I can walk on water. And the Buddha says, put the fairies on your nickel. It's like, what are you fucking wasting your time? Like, you can aid the progression rapidly with psychedelic drugs, and this is something that you know about MAPS and their work with MDMA and soldiers that have had PTSD.
Not that much, no.
It's phenomenal. By giving these soldiers MDMA, they give them MDMA, which is essentially what people think of as ecstasy in treatment. They give them pure MDMA, and then they assist them with. They actually have a psychologist sit with them, a therapist, and they go over all of the details of these traumatic events, and they come to peace with everything. And they've had profound benefits for soldiers and for some combat journalists, different people that get over there and experience the horrors of war and just general PTSD. Maybe for people who've experienced violent attacks, it is shown to be one of the very best things we've ever discovered for helping people get past
Well,
something.
so here's, to me, and I'm thinking about this on the fly, because I don't think about it, but there's a complex moral equation.
Now,
to
it
accept
goes
that.
without
If you're talking
saying,
about
but
someone's
cats
death,
really don't like to be ignored. My oh my, the staff is really upset now. The lack of proper leadership has really twisted their fanny cheeks. Hard! Where's the appreciation? Where's the sparkly money's at? Oh yeah, good one, bro. And as you continue to conjure magic to distract the masses, your efforts seem in vain, as your constant struggle to save Hattie and your friends has only created grander spectacles with harder obstacles to overcome. How's that for a double-edged sword? Sharp, right? And the audience loves it. The applause is deafening. The sandpapery kisses are plentiful and tickly, and they always want more. More! Bigger! Harder! That's what she's... this place is turning into quite the impressive palace of horror now. You're gonna be up to your throat in cats and lasers like pew, 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 and spiky things like shing, 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 and bombs and explosions like bang, 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 bang. So I'd stay on my toes if I were you, bang, because it's gonna be a massacre. A fun house of death, except 3 times as deadly. And to ice this little predicament cake of yours, the staff is sick of Hattie's nonsense. They're sick of him. Look how upset they are. Gaze in horror at the disorderly disorder. Meow! Meow! See? Aren't you scared? You should be. Bang! Crash! Crash! Bang! Nah! Kinda hard to do it justice with these little thingies, but trust me, it's terrible. Everyone's naked and rioting and pooping on the floor and clawing the expensive curtains. Come on, guys, they're expensive. Everything's going up in a horrifying blaze of chaos. Plus, the picnic was canceled, and I've kind of got a little headache coming on, and it just never ends. But go forth and give it your all. I won't believe you fought and died for nothing. And perhaps, when it's all over, I'll meet you in the afterlife whilst perusing the Hall of Heroes, where the brave live forever. There's also a Hall of Losers and Failures. You don't want to end up there. Trust me, it's embarrassing.
A little bit of a mental break from what you're experiencing in the vibration that you exist on almost every day, to separate from that and to get a look at it from the outside. Sometimes it allows you to have a new perspective that can enhance your life greatly.
As long as when people re-engage, they're re-engaging at a level of
But that's a
commonality,
discipline
right?
thing. This is what we share. You and I are both disciplined people. It's one of the things I really respect about you. You're a very hard worker. You're always on the ball. You're very disciplined. And I know that a lot of conservative people admire that and admire that in folks, and they think that people who are liberal are not disciplined. They think that they're...
Brave New World situation where you shortcuts to happiness. So let's pose a
That's not
sort of
really a
thought
shortcut.
experiment.
I don't think
Well,
it's
this
a
is the question, right? I mean,
Okay.
let's say that I could guarantee you that tomorrow you're going to be a happier person. All you have to do is take this regimen of drugs that you're going to take every day, and it's going to make you a happier person, a more well-rounded person, but it's going to permanently change your brain chemistry. Is that something that you think is good, or is it something you think is bad? Because from a religious perspective, there's an argument to be made that this is work you need to do on yourself without outside aid. It's possible if there's a case where you can, but
Yeah, you know, Terrence McKenna had a line about that. He said that there was a joke about there was a monk and he met Buddha. Buddha came to town. He said, Buddha, I wanted to impress him. He said, I practiced the city of levitation, and I've done this for 10 years, and now I can walk on water. And the Buddha says, put the fairies on your nickel. It's like, what are you fucking wasting your time? Like, you can aid the progression rapidly with psychedelic drugs, and this is something that do you know about MAPS and their work with MDMA and soldiers that have had PTSD?
Not
So
as much, no.
it's phenomenal. By giving these soldiers MDMA therapy, meaning they give them MDMA, which is essentially this ecstasy. They give them pure MDMA, and then they assist them with. They have to have a psychologist, sit with them, a therapist, and they go over all these details of these traumatic events, and they come to peace with everything. And they've had profound benefits for soldiers and for some combat journalists, different people that have been over there and experienced the horrors of war, and just general PTSD, maybe for people who have experienced violent attacks. It is shown to be one of the very best things we've ever discovered for helping people get past
Well, this is it. So here's to me, and I'm thinking about this on the fly because I don't think about it right now. But there's a complex moral equation to the extent that if you're talking about somebody who has PTSD, somebody has a condition, and the only way to help that condition is to use these drugs. I've never had a problem with any of that stuff, right? I mean, my grandfather was schizophrenic, and maybe bipolar, maybe schizophrenic. The diagnosis is not exactly good. If prescribed lithium, made him a lot better. Will he be better off struggling with schizophrenia? Of course not. It's much better that you should have lithium and then be able to live in his rational mind. So when there's a problem, using drugs to get past it and work with it is a good thing. You do run the risk of the sort of brave new world situation where you have a group of people who have a certain level of airset happiness that is not driven by a point of view, but more by just the chemicals in their body.
Do chemicals affect you?
Well, that is 100% true. But are you? Yuval Harari talks about maybe this is the future, right? He talks about the idea that maybe the future is we just drug ourselves until we're happy, basically. Or that happiness is the drugs, because if you're a scientific materialist, that's what it is. Happiness is just a bunch of chemicals flowing through your body. So if you can bring them in without self-change, but I do wonder whether that robs people of a certain level of purpose. That the struggle is part of being human.
I think we're changing what it is to be human. We're carrying around phones.
I mean, that's true. But I think that's again one of the things that I think makes being a human worthwhile is the idea that you are struggling. Like, I think the struggle is actually meaningful, and I think that's why religions tend to set prophylactic rules, sometimes for good and sometimes for ill. So, for example, I'm addicted to my phone. There's no question, right? It's in my hand all the time, but from Friday night to Saturday night, it's off. I can't look at it. I'm forbidden from looking at it, and this breaks the cycle, at least for 1 day a week. And that's a good thing to make me better as a human being. It's a limit I set for myself, and then a limit that I abide by. And if you believe in self-mastery, where's a happy medium between self-mastery and a little bit of and I think there is a happy medium there, but I'm not sure that drugs are the answer to. I don't think you're suggesting drugs are the answer.
No, I'm not suggesting that. And I think there's also a problem with the word drugs. That everything is under that blanket, and that blanket can be entirely negative or extremely positive.
Yeah,
The word
I mean,
drug,
but
I know there's a problem. I use it too. It's not using that term. It's a problem. It's a problem term because what these are substances that are psychoactive, and some of them can be extremely beneficial, and some of them have short-term experiences that last with long-term results. And I don't think that there's enough knowledge that. I don't think the people that are negative against it have experienced enough of it or have looked at it in an objective, rational way. Because I think it's something that could be here to aid perspective, to give people a chance to think outside of their normal, conditioned way of thinking that might have been established by their community or by their church, by their neighborhood, whatever it is. Sometimes a little bit of a break, a little bit of a mental break from what you're experiencing and the vibration that you exist on almost every day, to separate from that and get a look at it from the outside. Sometimes it allows you to have a renewed perspective that can enhance your life greatly.
As long as when we engage, that we engage with
That's a
commonality,
discipline
right?
thing. This is what we share. You and I are both disciplined people. And it's one of the things I really respect about you. You're a very hard worker. You're always on the ball. You're very disciplined. And I know that a lot of conservative people admire that, and they admire that in folks, and they think that people who are liberal are not disciplined. They think that they're lazy. It falls into this like weak beta male sort of category of people that are progressive and liberal. And I think that's a misunderstanding. I think you and I both agree that the struggle is very important. But I'd struggle physically so that I don't have to struggle mentally. I struggle physically so that I can have a better way of looking at things with less stress. So we have this shared belief that things should be a struggle. I force my struggle on myself so that I can have a better perspective. And this is something that you and I differ on. Like, I think you exercise, right?
Yes.
How often you do it?
I try to every day.
Yeah. Makes a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both understand that struggle is an important part of understanding yourself.
Yes.
If you do not push yourself, if you do not struggle, you're not going to really get who you are and what your boundaries are. And if you're self-indulgent every day, stuffing things in your face that you want to, like, hey, for this next month, you can't eat this, or you can't do that, or I want you to start fasting 16 hours a day. Is it that hard? Just eat for 8 hours a day and fast for 16? No, but just doing something like that, setting these guidelines for yourself and putting yourself into a disciplined state can be extremely beneficial. Like Dr. Willink always says, discipline equals freedom. It's a great formula, and it's real.
Well, and again, it is the basis of a lot of religion. I mean, a lot of religion is very practice-based. One of the reasons I like Judaism is most other religions say very practice-based religion. You know, sometimes you can take that too far in one direction, which is I say you need balance, reason with dictates that are meant to make you better. But that goes up back to Aristotle. I mean, Aristotle says you have to practice to be virtuous. What makes a virtuous person is acting repeatedly in accordance with right reason, and that is setting rules for yourself. Right? That is not violating every rule. And I think when we talk about on the conservative side, folks on the left being lazy, I don't mean that in terms of work. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is a hard worker. I think Jack Dorsey was getting bitten by mosquitoes. He's a hard worker. But you know, most of the people are hard workers. I don't think it's about that. I think it's a certain perspective on the necessity of rules and the mindset that if I don't know what rules for, what rules for, G.K. Chesterton has this very famous kind of contrast that he draws between people who tend to be right-wing politically and people who tend to be left-wing politically. He says people who tend to be left-wing politically walking through the woods and you come across a fence. You don't know why the fence is there. You say, I don't know why the fence is here. I'm moving it. And the person who's right-wing walks through the forest and sees the fence and then I don't know why the fence is here. to find out why the fence is here. And then they go. And that's the kind of Burkean conservative attitude of rules. The attitude that this rule is here for a reason. Maybe the rule sucks. Maybe the rule has to go. Let's try and figure out what was the root of the rule before we just wipe out all the fences and then try to rebuild from the ground up all these new fences. And that's especially true in a civilization that's the most prosperous and free civilization ever created. I mean, if the system really sucks, that would be one thing, but I think people are kind of ungrateful about the fact that we live in the best possible time in the best possible place.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the reality. And everybody who's so negative about living in America is like, okay, in 1900, 1 in 10 American children died in the first year of life. In 1850, the average life expectancy in Europe was under 40. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, our biggest problem today,
Oh, God.
for the vast majority of people, is that we are too fat, or that we don't have jobs. We still have somebody who's basically making sure we have food. Like, starvation is not a serious problem in the United States. There's a problem with poverty, but there's not a problem with widespread starvation. In fact, poverty tends to be aligned with obesity. You know, this is a pretty unbelievably great society. So maybe we ought to look back at the roots of that society before we start really turning up all the moral boundaries.
I think you and I agree that this is the greatest time ever to be alive. I think what these other folks are saying is that we can do better. And I think we all agree with that. But,
Yeah, sure.
But to classify this time as being a terrible time is, I think, totally inaccurate.
By the way, I hate it right in. Right? It's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why I think there's a certain point where the Trumpian populist right leads the Bernie Sanders populist left, and that is them walking around saying how much they suck. It's like, no, that's just wrong.
It's an amazing time. It's an amazing time for communication too. It's an amazing time for people to kind of understand other people's perspectives and points of view, which is one of the reasons why deplatforming and silencing of conservatives, even though I'm not conservative, bothers the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I just think it's a non-harmonious action in a time that I think could lead to people having much more open, much more balanced communication.
I mean, this should be the time when we are having more conversations and more fun with each other, and where we are feeling more entrepreneurial. We have a better social safety net than ever. So, one of the statistics that really bothers me is that the level of American mobility has declined rapidly in the United States. So, the number of people who are leaving their home states to go somewhere else to work a job, for example, is at decades low. Why? It's easier to get anywhere. Now, there's 7 million unfilled jobs. I keep hearing from folks who I personally like, people like Tucker Carlson, that you grew up in a small town, the town is now industry left. Well, the government somehow owes it to you that you get to grow up in this town and stay in that town, even if all the industry left. And I just think to myself, why who gave you this term people get to stay town? And I know, listen, I'm a lucky guy. I grew up in a two-parent household. We grew up wealthy, but we were middle class. Like, I grew up in a small house in Burbank with 2 bedrooms, and I had 3 sisters. We had 3 sisters in 1 bedroom, in 1 bathroom for 6 people. That's not poor. That's middle class. That's a great life. And I understand some people don't have that life. But one thing that is guaranteed to you is the opportunity for adventure in this country. So go and move. Like, why are we inculcating a feeling of victimhood in a society where if you make the right decisions, you will do well? I mean, not you might do well. If you make basic right choices, you will finish better than you started in American society. I mean, we're talking like the most basic choices, like finish high school and don't have a baby out of wedlock and get a job. Like, you do those 3 things, and the Brookings Institute says that you will not end in poverty in the United States. Like, that's amazing. That was not true for the vast majority of human history. For the vast majority of human history, you did all of those things. There wasn't high school, but you did all the other things. And then you lived like a serf on a farm until you died at age 37 of diphtheria or something. So it's just... the lack of optimism in a society where it should be running rampant is kind of astonishing to me.
Well, it's perspective, right? I mean, rich kids grow up with this perspective of constantly being rich, and people grow up with this perspective of how they view the United States as this negative thing, or that they don't know how to change their life, they don't know how to take action because they haven't had anyone around them who's done it. That's part of the problem with small town mentalities, is that you kind of inherit the vibe of the people that are around you. And if they're ignorant, or if they're shallow-minded, or if they're stuck in this one town and they're never going to leave, and you get caught in that vibe, you can one day wake up and you're 32 and you've never done anything.
I mean, but J.D. Vance talks about it in the elegy, right? The people who are in the small towns and they've basically been told that they have 2 choices: they can go on welfare or they can leave. And it's like, hey, I don't go on welfare. But everybody around me is, why not? There's nothing morally deficient about going on welfare. It's actually one of the bigger problems I have with the welfare state generally, is that it disconnects the person receiving the aid from the person giving the aid. One of the, like, in our religious community, take an example. There's a time a few years back where a guy came to me at Bus Mark for me and really does good work. He came to me and he said, my family doesn't have enough money to make rent this month. Can you offer me in advance on our ticket buy somewhere down the road? And I was like, sure. So I signed him a check. And he understood that 5 years later, he came back to me and he said, you still haven't bought that piece of art. I owe you a piece of art. Because he knew who gave him money.
Right.
And so he was willing to understand that that was an act of charity, and he wanted to make sure that was paid back. He says in Cinderella Man, right, with Russell Crowe, the moment where he makes money, walks back into the welfare office, and he rolls out a wad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that feeling that the government is just a cash machine that exists to pay money, that money actually comes from somewhere, either it's coming from the future because we're going to have to pay back to that, or it's coming from money, and that we all owe something to each other.
Right.
And at the same token, but I owe to my neighbors is that if they're in trouble, then it's my obligation as a good person to try and help them out on a personal level.
Yes.
Right? And the charity in religious communities is extremely high. That's the social fabric that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Without that sort of dutiful sense to one another, you can't have rights. Because if you just have rights and no duties, then there will be no one to take care of each other. And while I'm libertarian when it comes to government, I'm very conservative when it comes to the need to build social fabric in communities and have people with working families and communities with working families.
Yeah, I really think that's one of the best things that comes out of religion, is when you have a tight-knit community like yours, when you have that sense of charity, when you really are a community of people that care for each other and look out for each other. The problem is, of course, doing that large scale. And the problem is doing it in some sort of non-denominational way where people don't have the exact same beliefs, but they still share these core values of community and taking care of each other. And that's what people really benefit from. I've done studies with people and they show happiness and what's happiness correlated with. It's almost always correlated with friends and loved ones and family. Right. It's the most important thing.
And when it comes to diversity, there's this slogan that diversity is our strength. Well, there's a Robert Hall, a sociologist, he wrote an entire book about social fabric, the bowling alone, the pioneer of the social fabric. And what he said is that he went in with writing his book with the idea that diversity is our strength. And then he did some research, and what he found is that ethnic diversity only correlates with 2 things. These are his words: increased be walking in conservative markets. That's all. Unless it is within the boundaries of a common goal. So if you walk into a church, very diverse ethnically, everybody's got the same general goal, which is worshiping God in one particular way, and we believe in certain core set of values. And now that proceeds great. Your experience is there. You're all aiming in the same direction. It is the example of the army. You see a bunch of people go in, diverse group of people, diverse races, different backgrounds. And when you talk to those guys while they're serving or after they leave, they don't give a crap about the diverse backgrounds of the people they were serving with. They're all aiming their guns in the same direction. Well, in the United States, we have to be aiming our guns in the same direction, or we can't really have a functioning social fabric at all. And I'm perfectly willing to give charity to people who I don't know who still believe, like I, that America is a fantastic country rooted in immutably good principle. But that starts to break down when I'm being asked to give charity just on a personal level to somebody who believes that America is fundamentally evil and needs to be torn out at its roots and replaced with something better. Right? Because now we're not aiming in the same direction. So on a human level, I care about you. But on a social level, if I have a choice between somebody who basically agrees with me about fundamental values and somebody who is diametrically opposed, I'm going to give my money to the person who basically agrees with me on those fundamental values. And I don't think those fundamental values have to be religious. I don't think you have to be a God believer to receive charity from me, or I don't think you have to be an atheist to receive charity from you. But I do think that you do have to take into consideration a few things, and now we're on the same page. Personal responsibility. The idea that you do live in a free country, just historically and relatively speaking, it's a free country, which means decision making is on you. So man up a little bit. That the decisions that you make, we should all have sympathy for people who had worse lives and worse experiences. But in the end, if we're capable, if we're not fundamentally disabled in some way, that you need to make a plan for your own life. And you need to do, like, are you more willing to give charity to somebody who had a plan for how to get themselves out of the hole? Of course.
Yeah.
But that relies on that person feeling an obligation to do that.
Well, I also think that what you're talking about with the charity within the community is so much more. There's so much more connection than charity from the government. When you're talking about welfare, the problem is that there's this dissolving of responsibility because it's just a check comes in that you feel like, well, this is a rich country, I'm owed this anyway.
Right.
And you know, when I was a kid, we were on welfare, and we used food stamps, and I remember being very ashamed of it, feeling really weird that we were that poor, that we needed help from the government. But my parents worked their way out of it. They were young, they had a kid.
My guess is that the social stigma probably has something to do with that. Meaning that
Sure.
you didn't want to be involved. They didn't want to be on food stamps. Like, contrast your story with Adam Carolla's, right? Adam talks all the time about how his parents were also on food stamps and welfare. They were just, and he always resented that, thought that was bad.
Yeah.
He said, like, you could work, why aren't you? And that gave him the impetus to get up and do what Adam's done. So, you know, that kind of, it's not yourself up at the bootstrap because helping hands are good, but it is, if I were capable of picking myself up at my bootstrap, would I do so? Yeah. And if the answer is yes, then we're all on the same page.
Well, there's a real problem too, in that some people just get a horrible hand dealt to them
For sure.
at birth. The parents that really doing a terrible job raising them and fucking them up every step of the way. You're around a bunch of people that are criminals. Everybody's fucking up. There's no examples of anybody that's doing well. I mean, it's one of the unique things about the internet today is that a kid that's in that environment can get a hold of maybe something that you said or something that, you know, someone else has said, and start reading books and start taking in information that gives them a different perspective and fuel that perspective with more motivational stuff and more information and education. And sometimes kids, just like you were saying down the road, they grow up with these parents that are just not ambitious. Also, they become very ambitious and they work very hard to not be like them. And sometimes it's good to see that example, but most of the time it's just fucking hard for them to reprogram their head.
Well, for sure, it's hard to do that. And it's also hard. I really think that there's a lot of focus in the country right now on raising awareness, which is fine. You know, raising awareness of our history and all the bad things that we've done.
Yeah.
But I mean, people should know about all the good things and all the bad things, right? History is history. But this incessant focus on the idea that people's lives are getting better by suggesting that they're perennial things in the United States, I don't understand how that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, as a member of a historically persecuted group, if I had grown up and my parents had said to me, no matter what you do, you will be put under the thumb of dominant society, that's a pretty horrible message to help to a kid. And I think that's true for politicians, again, on both sides of the aisle. I think we get it from President Trump when it comes to some rural areas where it's like, well, it's Mexicans and the Chinese come in and steal your jobs, and you're under the thumb of people who are trying to destroy you. And on the other side of the aisle, people who say, well, you're in the inner city, and therefore cops are racist against you and want to destroy you, and everybody's out to get you. It's like, well, how about this? How about, like, again, the single best thing you can do for yourself is make basic decisions that are entirely within your control. Okay? Unless you are raped, God forbid. Single motherhood is a choice that you get to make about your life. Right? This is a choice you get to make about your life. Finishing high school, unless you are legitimately disabled in some way. I mean, especially in LUSD, where you basically have to be able to read at a great level to finish high school. You know, but these are decisions, personal decision making. If you want, I've never seen somebody's life get better by complaining about reality. I've seen a lot of people's lives get better by acknowledging that reality is what it is and then making personal decisions to make their lives better. And that's considered non-compassion. It seems to me that the essence of compassion sometimes is saying, at least make baseline decisions. If you make baseline decisions and then you fail, we can talk about what happened.
I don't think it's non-compassionate. I think it's pragmatic, and I think you're right. But I also think that there's some people that are they're in situations that require something external to assist them. They're the way their life has been set up. And this is what I think when people think about compassion and people pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. If you really have an honest and accurate assessment of extreme poverty and terrible neighborhoods, it's not as simple as do something good to better your life. Part of it is you gotta fucking stay alive. Part of it is you're surrounded by people who either have committed crimes or will commit crimes. I mean, 1 out of every 4 people you run into might be a criminal in the worst neighborhood in the country.
This is what, for sure. But I think we have to. This is where we recognize what government is good at. Government is good at 2 things: cutting other people, cutting checks on other people's money, great at it, and they'll seize. They're right on top of those parking tickets, by the way, make sure that they're basing it. So seizing your money and paying money, they're very good at it. And pointing a gun at people. Right? These are the 2 things the government was built to do: was collect taxes and pay out money, and then point guns at people. Right? This is what government does. So which of those 2 things can you apply in a situation where there's just a complete lack of social capital. Because cutting the check isn't going to do it alone. Where's that check go? To the parents who are not able to protect their kids. One, if you're enabling the parents to move out of that community or something. But that's why I say you have to attach. If you're going to do the government welfare thing, you got to attach it to a plan. It can't just be here's a check. Enjoy your life.
But what is the plan? You're in one of those terrible communities. You live in an apartment complex.
So I mean, here's the reality. I think that the plan very often when it comes to a urban area is the other side of what the government does, which is you need more cops in that area. Like, I think the great lie that these communities that are crime-ridden, I'm talking about White Appalachia, and I'm talking about black inner cities. These communities do not need fewer cops, they need more cops. Because the precondition to investment in those communities, and increase tax dollars in those communities, and increase social capital in those communities, is people not getting shot every 5 seconds. I mean, that's why the worst thing that can happen to law-abiding minorities is for the cops to abandon areas where crime is high. It just doesn't make any sense. And that's not just me saying it. Jane Levy, who reported to the LA Times, very much on the left, has said the same thing. Law-abiding people want crime rates to go down. Conditions have to change in the community for conditions to change in the community.
Did you ever see the wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia? No. Was it Johnny Knoxville? Did he produce that documentary? I think he did, right? It's about this family that lives in West Virginia that is just a bunch of psychotic criminals. There's these crazy white people that the kids take them out doing backflips on the bed, and they're all on pills. It's bananas. And it gives you this insight that if you are in this community, if you are in this family, and this is obviously a very strange family, but there's many more of them that have not been documented. If you are in that community, good fucking luck getting out. Good luck. The money that you get other than welfare is from selling pills. You know, everybody's on these pills. You're all whacked out. You don't know what the fuck is going on half the day. You're on opiates. I mean, it is a bananas environment. And there's a lot of people like that in this country. For sure. In poor Latino communities, in poor white communities, in poor black communities. The idea that these people are just going to pull themselves up by the bootstraps is crazy. I just think they don't have a plan. And I think if we really want to help them, there's got to be some way where you can give these people the opportunity to step out of that pattern. Whatever that community centers, outreach programs, whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
I mean, the truth is that historically speaking, it was people actually going to church.
Yes.
I mean, and they make
there's a lot of good. I'm not a church-going person, but I absolutely recognize that there's a lot of good involved in having that framework.
Right, and I'm not sure that that's. I don't think we create sort of fake social fabric with just a government welfare system. Like it doesn't work. Disability exists. It's been increasing every year. It's not. This question I ask every day actually. Sorry, our episode comes out on Sunday. Obviously, EPI, basic income, and I'm not averse to the idea of EPI in the future where legitimately 50% of the population can afford because they've all been audited existence and all this. But there's one section in his book where Andrew talks about how if we cut people a check for EPI, then they will spend their extra time eating cars and engaging in hobbies that they like. And I just thought to myself, I said it to him, like, people with disability, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, if they're on disability, the people you're talking about for suffering, they're not out there writing poetry. I mean, the rise of the opioid epidemic and people who are ODing on drugs and all this stuff, that's in precisely the same demographic we're talking about. You're just talking about check from one place as opposed to another place. I don't really see that solves the problem. I think we have a crisis of purpose right now, and I don't think that crisis of purpose is solvable on the one hand by changing our trade rules, and I also don't think that crisis of purpose is solvable by cutting a government check. I just don't think that's how people are wired.
I absolutely agree with you that there is a crisis of purpose. My concern is about automation. My concern is on the ground. I was talking to Andrew Yang, talking to Elon Musk, a few other people that are proponents of universal basic income. They think there's going to be such a massive loss of jobs in such a short period of time from people that are non-skilled laborers, and it's going to go away. There's millions and millions of jobs, and these people are not going to have anything, and it's chaos.
Right, so there's two problems that come up there, and this is where Andrew's book is interesting, because problem number one is that they don't have a source of income. You guys solve that.
Sort of. It doesn't even give them $1,000 a month.
Exactly, right? I mean, even if you just get a Swedish redistribution system, it might, let's say we could solve the money problem for a second, which, you know, without taking names out of it. Let's say we could get trillions of dollars to the budget every year, and we can solve that. I'm still not sure that solves the deeper problem, which is that people lose jobs that use purpose. Right? So I'm not sure that EPI solves that problem. As I say, we have a rich social welfare network in the United States, and we're seeing this stuff happen. Anyway, now, I'm a little bit less catastrophic. By a little bit, I mean a fair bit less catastrophic in thinking about automation than either Anthony or Elon.
Do you think that people will be able to adapt looking at this to avoid problems, they'll realize the jobs aren't there anymore, and they'll just naturally gravitate towards other professions?
I think over time that people will do that. They're not always the same people. There's always shift in the economy, and the ideal economic model has a problem becoming a political right. That's not
well, that was the whole learn to code fiasco that got people kicked off of Twitter.
Right. They say journalists, and that's very bad. If you say learn to code to a trucker, yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Learn to code to a trucker.
If you say learn to code to a trucker, then that's just being helpful. Right. If you say learn to code to a journalist, then that is targeted harassment out there. That's
what
someone
says it to me.
Well, I mean, but it's but yeah, I mean, I think that.
But you just say it to a friend. Hey, fuckface, learn to code.
I don't know. It's very important to the censorship board over.
It's a dumb thing to take people out for. It's one of the best examples of like how censorship oversteps its boundaries and becomes almost like satire.
Yeah, it's really absurd.
This is the biggest aggression ever. Learn code. But that's something. Like, this is a stupid thing that someone said about coal miners. They literally said that about coal miners. That maybe they can learn code. That's however they want until learn to code became a joke and became something that you would mock people. Their explanation for it was so crazy. It was like, no, then learn to code got connected with all this white supremacy and all this other stuff.
Well, that's the hit road law. Okay, white supremacists are bad. They use the phrase learn to code. That means if you say learn to code, you're a white supremacist.
Sorry, lost the frog. That fucking frog feels good man frog. That's what happened to Pepe. It lost him.
They turned the freaking frog gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as automation, there's constantly people saying this is the Nicholas Nissing view of reality, which the Black Swan incident is happening the second for it, versus the sort of Stephen Pinker view of reality, which is the Black Swan incident is called the Black Swan incident because it's a Black Swan incident, meaning that it happens incredibly rarely. The idea that we are on the verge of a catastrophic drop in job numbers because of automation of trucking, for example, I'm not sure that I buy it. The reason I don't buy it is because you still need to continue to deal with that truck. There's human drivers on the road. There will be a gradual transition away from some of these jobs. Andrea talks about radiologists, and how radiologists are going to be priced out of the market by computers that can do a better job diagnosing tumors. First of all, awesome. I mean, that's good. First of all, that brings down cost, and you won't get cancer and second of all, what a lot of technology studies have tended to show is that technology just gets integrated in a different way. So there will be jobs that are eliminated, for sure. There will be jobs you've heard of that will be created also. And mostly technology will become more of a productivity aid due to people. So this is true in factories, jobs in Boston factories. That's the example where jobs are lost. But it's not true. How many office jobs have been created because you have a computer? There's more office jobs than you have right now.
Do you think that this is akin to like government bailout? Like the idea of government bailout is like the banks that you fail. Some people thought, you know what, you got to let them fail, so you figure out why they failed, and we'll never have it happen again. If there is this thing, and the government steps in and says, wait a minute, I know you lost all your jobs, we're going to give you $1,000 to figure it out. $1,000 a month is something wrong. Whereas those people might have gone on a fear-filled journey to try to figure out their purpose in life because now they're stuck with a job that doesn't exist anymore, so they're harder, and they have to act.
There's innovation.
Oh, shit.
I mean, there are people who become dependent on government, and there used to be. I mean, that stuff is true.
It does happen.
I mean, and listen, Milton Friedman made an argument for universal basic income as a replacement for the welfare system. There's another problem with universal basic income, also, and that was one of the big issues is that poor people, very often, people who are permanently impoverished, not people who are temporarily impoverished, but they tend not to spend money where they think they're not taking that money and not putting it into education or into.
They might just be buying ho-hos and cigarettes.
Right, I mean, the average person who is making less than maybe $16,000 a year spending $400 in a lottery ticket, that's literally just pushing your money down the toilet. So how do you, aren't you just going to end up back in the same place in 6 months where people took that money and used it in ways that actually didn't benefit them? And at a certain point, the question is, do you own your decisions or do you not own your decisions? At what level of incompetence or inability do we say, you no longer own your decisions, so we're just going to take care of you on a permanent basis? That's really the question here.
I think we're looking at, talking about welfare, we're looking at worst case scenario, right, where someone does get dependent upon the welfare state and does use that money frivolously and does make poor decisions. Then there's got to be people that are single moms that, maybe have kids with some fucking asshole that works all day and is a piece of shit and they have to hide from them. And they're just trying to feed their kids. Those people just they don't have a community to help them out. Maybe they're not a part of a church, and maybe they don't have a good group of neighbors, maybe they have to move somewhere for work and they got stuck in some place they don't know anybody.
But I think part of it is to recognize that incentives matter on both ends. So the idea is that you give some people more money and they'll do well. And also, if you create a welfare system that benefits single motherhood, we'll get more single motherhood. The single motherhood rate in the black community before welfare was 20%, now 70%. In the white community, it's 5%, not 40%.
You've said that like out of wedlock children and having a kid when you're young, it's a terrible idea for your life. But what do you recommend to have kids avoid that? I mean, most people think
Don't put it there without that thing.
no condom restriction.
Right, like don't have unprotected sex. I mean, like, this is not, it's not, pardon my big person, it's not that big of rocket science. I mean, like
You're apologizing for not cursing.
I'm apologizing for not cursing. Yeah, it's not rocket science.
It's not. Kids make mistakes, and that's what
Well, okay, well, but, and then if the government uses those mistakes, it becomes less.
So what should happen to kids somewhere?
No, I mean, presumably,
How should it be worked out?
I mean, it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
If there are parents available to the kid, presumably the grandparents, would take a pretty active role in the raising
If they
of that kid.
Also, they're there.
Well, how about this? How about we assume that if you are old enough to get pregnant, and you're old enough to, let's talk about 7 people over 18 years old, is to be shot and married. And
Really think that's a good idea?
I think the idea of parents staying together for the sake of a kid that they accidentally abort is absolutely great. Yeah, I think that's a better idea than walking away and being without a man in the house.
So you think
their
the
child. I know a
parents
lot of
should
people.
figure a way to work it out?
Yes.
And if they're both reasonable, they could do that?
Yeah, and I think that, by the way, a huge percentage of American births in the 40s and 50s were exactly this. The last 7 month babies in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Like something like 30 to 40% of all kids born in the 30s and 40s and 50s were 7 month babies. Somebody got knocked up. The expectation was, like, did the private, do the private.
Oh my crap.
Relationship prison.
But don't
Find somebody
to have sex with. Find somebody to have sex with who you actually think is worthy of a relationship.
Right. Now,
Or on options available to you. And figure it out.
you're okay with that?
On moral level? No, but if I'm going to compare that to having a baby out of wedlock, yeah.
This is laughing about pornography. Get to stop now, and we'll go. I think you guys enjoy it.
There's no supply and demand problem.
I think you like it. I think you like making it. You guys are a bunch of freaks. I mean, it's like a business. It's almost like you have excess houses that stack up to the moon. Like, there's no way everyone's going to live in all those houses. Why do you keep making houses? There's no way one person's ever jerked off to everybody that ever existed. It's not possible. And it's also like other forms of media where they just stack up. Like, I never really thought of that until...
The bad bug of internet pornography, like, I'm a month behind that.
Let's think about music, right? There's all the music that existed before in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and there's new shit every goddamn day. It never ends. It's this overwhelming library of stuff that we have to
Well,
experience.
it would be good if that music changed from time to time. The same song recorded 7 different ways,
What kind of shit do you listen to?
Oh my.
It was a classic, classic.
Do you?
Of course, yes.
You're so interesting.
I was a concert level violinist until I was...
Do you still practice?
Yeah, I mean, the only expensive object that I own other than my house is violin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it a Stradivarius?
It is not. It's not.
That's all I know.
Yeah, the two that people may know are Stradivarius and Corneri. But those ones are like hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is in tens of thousands of dollars.
Stradivarius has hundreds of thousands of
Yeah,
dollars.
we knew my company made a lot. No.
What's so big about it? What's the big deal?
Well, I mean, aside from the historic value of the thing, I'm not making more of them. It does play very differently.
Yeah.
Very differently. I had a crappy violin for most of my life. Like, really until the last few years. I had a violin that was handed down from my grandfather that was $30 bucks. And it was a crap. I mean, it was not a good violin. If you're good enough, then you can tell the difference between a really great violin to play and one that's a piece of garbage. And I was good enough on that, so that's, yeah, I mean, I was a classical guy. I played violin for years. My dad was a growing up, my dad was a pianist.
Look at what Jamie just pulled up. The most expensive violin in the world sold for an estimated $16 million for Stradivarius.
They never lose value. I mean, really, you know, it's a good investment. The person, I know a guy who's offered a Strat, and I think it was $250,000 maybe 10 years ago. He's like, no, that's worth $3 million.
God, no, what is the deal? What if you had to explain what's the difference between the sound that this makes?
So, I mean, it has to do with the acoustics of the instrument, the wood quality. There's slight variations in the construction of the instrument, and certain parts that are thicker or thinner, and it's easier to play a better violin. So it almost covers for your mistake. When you play a bad violin, it tends to scratch and screech more. That's why we get the register. The violin, you hit very high notes, it can be very screechy or it can be very beautiful. Some of that, most of that's the player, some of that's the violin. And again, this is the greatest violinist he has Strat.
Look at this. Lady Blunt Stradivarius cost $15.9 million.
People buy these and then they lend them out on loan to world's great violinists. But there's in the end, it's really the quality of the player. There's a Tim Scott Heifetz story where he was playing at Carnegie Hall, and some lady came up to him afterwards. She said, "You know, your violin sounds so beautiful. It's violin. It's so serious. I'm playing it right now."
Oh my fucking God.
So do you listen to any other kind of music?
Yeah, I mean, I like some classic rock.
Do you?
Yeah,
I can see you rocking out.
Yeah, I went to Doobie Brothers concert with my parents.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
That's a band that was named after a joint.
That's true.
That's not
That's
right.
accurate. I know.
Did you feel like a sinner?
I was a rebel that day. I was really going to the Doobie Brothers concert with the other boomers.
So the other thing is same-sex marriage. So the other thing that I think that we disagree with. Well, we agree with marriage thing.
Right, and I love
think the government should be involved. You know, I think where people should be protected is the assets and the
Contract,
yes.
yeah.
I think that all makes sense to me. All that's in terms of alimony and child support, all those things make sense. And the community reinforces it. Then become the government reinforcing all that stuff. That all makes sense. But why do you care if two gay guys?
So from a religious point of view, so we went with the second point. So the idea is not that I care deeply with gay guys. The idea is that I prefer traditional marriage to same sex.
Okay, let me phrase this way. What do you think a gay guy is? Do you think someone's making a choice, or do you think this is how they're born?
So the religious point of view on this, and I think this is actually just a general concept of human action generally. I don't know, meaning that for the vast majority of people, I assume that they have a biological drive to engage in human behavior. But the traditional sort of will point of view is that biological drive does not necessarily match up to the activity you want to engage in. And men, for example, have a biological drive to impregnate many women. That's not something religion is cool with either. And so the idea is that...
Well, the religion is cool with a man being with one woman and impregnating her, but you're not cool with a man being with a man.
So I'm going to give you the religious explanation, and I'm going to give you the secular explanation. Okay. So the religious explanation is that there is something different about a woman than there is about a man, and a man is made better through his union with a woman. And that if you pervert the sex drive to pursue mere pleasure instead of a lasting relationship on which the basis of society is built, then you are foregoing proper use of your sex drive.
Correct. If you want to step in and argue against that, you would say that just because someone can get pregnant doesn't mean they don't have a loving relationship that contributes to society.
Well, that's true, but it is also foregoing the more productive relationship of being able to bear an children. And also recognizing that sex is not different, right? And recognizing also sex is not the same. So being with a man is in a relationship different than being with a woman. So I assume that's why gay guys are gay. If it weren't, then I assume that they would be fine with being with a woman.
Right.
So that relationship from a religious perspective is more valuable because women have different qualities than men. You round off each other's harsh edges, it changes you. When you're married, being married changes a man in a different way than being married to a member of the same sex.
Right, but I don't want people to have to do it. But if you're
not forcing anybody, right?
But I want them to have the option. And if you're a gay person and to say you don't know. No, I mean, of course,
it's legally. I agree.
Yeah, legally.
I can make this distinction because whenever I talk about the moral perspective on things, then people immediately assume that I'm a theocrat fascist. I just want to keep underscoring.
Yes,
but my personal views on Dave Rubin's marriage are of no consequence to public policy in any way whatsoever.
Right. I agree with you on that, and I don't think it should be part of public policy. And I think people should absolutely be allowed to marry and divorce and do whatever the fuck they want to do, no matter who it is. But why do you care? Like, as a person who's a rational thinker, it's pretty clear that people are gay. And I don't really think that this is a decision they make in terms of like, I'm going to make a clear choice to defy God and be gay. I think they're just gay.
Well, again, I think this
And I don't think it's everyone.
it's conflation of identity and drive with activity, which is something that religion fundamentally rejects.
Okay,
So religion fundamentally rejects the idea that you're driven to do something, therefore it is your identity, therefore you get to hold your name. It's a chain of thinking that religion
So
does
in
not.
religion, if a man is gay, in your religion, if a man is gay and they're in love with a man, they should just squash those thoughts and find a woman.
Well, ideally, they would be honest with one marriage, they're not like messing up
But
with
they
one
would want to go
Ideally, you would still get married and have children in a heterosexual relationship. If you're not up to that, then you wouldn't get married at all.
They will tell you, imagine, Ben Shapiro, someone said to you, you should stop being with your beautiful wife and you need to now marry a man because this is what God wants you to do. So you're going to have to screw this man and he's going to still do it. And because this is how the rules are set up.
That's how hard it sounds for you.
Right, well this is how it sounds to gay folks. So you're telling them they have to find a woman.
And
like I like dudes.
I'm not saying you have to find a woman. I'm saying you can. Well, I'm saying you can. I'm not saying you must.
Let's say can, but like whose determination?
If you decide to participate in this religion,
Right.
then there is a buy-in to the precept of the religion.
And the buy-in is
The buy-in
you
is
can't
that,
be gay.
well, no, the buy-in is that you can have whatever sexual orientation you please. There's an activity
So you can be gay, but you can't have gay sex.
Right. That's what the Bible, I mean, if you want to go direct text of the Bible, that's what the Bible actually says. I mean, even the parts of the Bible that people really hate, those parts say the man shall not lie with a man. It doesn't say a man can't get attracted to another man.
That's Old Testament, right?
Yeah, that's our stuff. Like, New Testament, it gets a little harsher than the New Testament in some cases.
Yeah.
But in any case, you know, again, when it comes to this, is what I'm puzzled by is the idea that this is a unique area of human behavior that religion is supposed to treat differently. Meaning religion treats virtually every human activity like this. Sin is a failure to abide by a covenant, right? That's the definition of sin. Right? When you commit a sin in Judaism, Avera in Judaism, what you're doing is failing to do a mitzvah, which is a commandment. You're violating a commandment. Well, there are lots of commandments that go directly against what people are driven to do. Just because the drive is stronger does not make you more morally non-culpable to violate that commandment. So when people pick this one out and they say, well, this one's particularly intolerant, for example, I don't see why it's more particularly intolerant than saying to a man that you have to marry one woman, or saying to a Jew that you are not allowed to eat this stuff. Or it may be harder. I mean, there's a question, it's harder to abide by those commandments, but it is well within religious tradition. Like literally every religious tradition, there's a bunch of stuff you're forbidden to do. Now, again, you don't have to agree with my point. I'm not trying to convert you. So nothing about higher religion. I don't give a shit. We actively discourage conflict. But if you're going to proclaim that you are, you know, abiding by traditional Judaism, this is the body. There's lots of body. You have to wear a funny hat sometimes. You have to go to shul on Saturdays. You have to eat Shabbat. There's a lot of body. And as long as I'm not bothering anybody else, I frankly don't see what this is. It is legitimately anybody's. What I think about personal relationships. I'm not imposing my view on anybody else.
Well, I do acknowledge that out of all religions, Judaism probably makes it the most obvious that they don't give a fuck what you do. Go ahead, do your thing. Like, they're not trying to proselytize. My uncle converted, and when he converted, it was a grind, man. He had to learn a lot of shit.
Like 3 years of a grind. Yeah, fair.
It's a long time.
So that was the religious perspective. And the secular perspective, when it comes to valuing traditional marriage over same-sex marriage, that's a very simple calculation, which is one type of marriage produces traditional children, produces children in the traditional biological way, and they have both parents must take care of them. That's the value of marriage. And I fully acknowledge that when the value of marriage shifted from child production and rearing of children to people who love each other, the case for same-sex marriage against same-sex marriage was completely opposite.
Right. So you were just sticking to rigid ideology in terms of like what you believe to be a sin and not believe this to be a sin based on your religion, based on this very strict moral fiber that this religion is operating.
In a religious context, meaning it applies to me, it applies to my family, it doesn't apply to you.
Right. Is there any room for growth in that when people have a better understanding of biology? Like, so if it was proven, if there's proven like, oh, this is why a person develops blue eyes, this is why a person is gay, this is why, there's nothing wrong with it, just a variation.
No,
it's red hair, it's freckles, it's gay, it's straight.
You tell me that homosexual orientation is 100% biologically driven, and I
Oh
would
my god.
completely agree with you that there's some cases where it's not. Do you think by the way, the research tends to show that there's more sexual fluidity among females than males tends to be heterosexual and homosexual.
That research is all done by dudes who want to laugh to hook up the chest. Keep going.
Honey,
let me just show you the paperwork.
But again, it's a question that I've always found actually not particularly interesting because it doesn't take into account the worldview generally, which is that biological drive does not equal excuse for behaving in a certain way.
But that's what brings me back to this. Is it possible that these laws in this religion were written when who do you think wrote this stuff? Do you think people wrote this stuff? Or do you think God wrote this
I
stuff?
think either way, even if it were, I mean, because I am a Orthodox Jew, I believe that at the very least it's God inspired and God written. Right? But even if I believed on a secular level that human beings wrote this stuff, so people 3,000 years ago have never seen a gay person before.
Do you think that understood?
Like the very reason they have that is because certain people in your community are behaving in a particular way. Like, there's no commandment not to take your head and shove it in people.
Well, this is also the argument against sports because they didn't understand trigonosis. They understood that you need to 145 degrees of parasites, which are very dangerous for people.
So I'm not a huge fan of naturalistic explanations for religion.
I think that's a good one for sport.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think you could make an argument maybe that.
Kid was died in the news people with X-rays in his head. He had parasites from pork that had gotten into his body and they nested in his brain, so he developed cysts beside his head, and they couldn't do anything about it because it was so deep in his head that they gave him the anti-parasite medication called spot on his brain. And it was so far gone. It's actually pig shit, apparently. It's people accidentally coming in contact with pig shit producing with a parasite.
Yeah, it's not
It's
good.
more rare. But trichinosis is pretty common.
Well, again, their attempts to sort of put that into Bible sort of rationalistic explanations.
Doesn't that make sense though?
I think.
Why else would it be bad to eat pigs? Jesus loved pigs.
Well, I think that the reversal of the kosher laws has done, you know, from a Jewish point of view, we don't lose the divinity of Christ.
Right.
There you can make an argument that the Gospels were
He was just a prophet.
significant. No, he was a prophet.
What do you think he was?
I mean, what I think was his whole point. He was a Jew trying to lead a revolt against Rome. He's got physical evidence that he was trying to lead a revolt against them.
So it became legend and story and bigger deal.
Yeah, he had followers, and then that gradually grew, and then there was a... No, that's not. Yeah, we're not in that. We're not in the miracle stories. No, that's
No?
not.
Do you know of any miracles?
No, not by Jesus. Right? They're ones in the Old Testament. Yeah, God Moses wedding scene.
What do you think happened there?
What do I think happened there?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with my mind to get an explanation. There was, I mean, it says in the Bible there was a strong east wind, so there's a naturalistic explanation for a physical phenomenon.
That makes sense.
I mean, there's what my mind is constantly trying to do is rename back to the Bible.
Yeah. That is the problem with these texts, right? So you're trying to decipher translations from original texts which were written in ancient Hebrew thousands of years ago and hold in oral tradition for longer than that.
Right. I mean, this is where my book. I always have to pitch my own stuff to go shoot. But the new book, Red Side History, the New York Times bestseller, man,
But wait a minute, you got #1 in the New York Times best-selling reading?
Yeah, we sold enough that we knocked Michelle about that. Last 4 weeks.
Is there a protest?
Well, no protest yet, but suffice it to say the New York Times book group wrote it. Like, I'm not super shocked by that, but the basic contention that I make is that Judeo-Christian values on the one hand, and then human reason on the other. Reason, really, that tradition is essentially that attention is where one civilization is. Basically, civilization is a suspension bridge. It takes certain fundamental precepts of Judeo-Christian values on the one hand, and then takes Greek reason and it totally against each other. Sometimes reason feels like it's going to dominate religion, and sometimes it feels like religion is going to dominate reason. In the best of all available world, you have a bridge that is capable of building upon it, where you can actually have a functional civilization. And if you lose reason in the name of theocracy, the name of tyrannical theocracy, and if you lose religion in the name of reason, you end up in some pretty dark places because human beings don't have a very good track record of creating their own purpose, creating their own meaning, creating their own existence. You get very utopian very quickly. And things get really ugly, which is sort of the story of particularly the first half of the 20th century.
So this is the benefit of sticking to the rigid ideology that's prescribed by religion. Is you don't allow human beings to keep updating it and changing it, because if you do, they will eventually slide into chaos.
Well, yes, we do not say there's not plain truth. There's certain religions I mean, Judaism was practiced originally, probably in many ways not the way Judaism practiced it. In fact, the Talmud even says that. There's this kind of fascinating account between the Talmud where Moses is it's called God Talk, some of these stories that we see in the Talmud, where Moses comes back and watching from on high as a bunch of rabbis in 2nd century Palestine are talking about Judaism. And he said, I don't recognize any of this stuff. I brought down these books from the mountain, and I do not recognize any of this stuff. And God says to him, God says to him, right, it's more Moses' belief. In other words, it's not, Judaism has always had a common law tradition where you're using reason to try and develop the ideas behind the commandments and then try and extend them or broaden them. And I think that's a good thing, but you have to be careful not to completely undermine fundamental roots or get rid of basic precepts. In other words, you have to acknowledge there are certain fundamental truths that exist there, and then there's play as far as how those are implemented.
Does Judaism have one of those great day-away traditions?
No, it's not. I mean,
What do they want guys to do? What would you do if you were...
Not to sin, but again, sin is a thing that everybody does, meaning that masturbation is not okay according to Judaism. I assume that the vast majority of young Jewish men do orthodox masturbation, so people sin. I mean, that's a recognition. It's always, again, I will audaciously speak on behalf of choosing Christians here. I think that religious people are told that when they say something is a sin, this means that they are looking askance at people who are committing sin, and that is not correct. I mean, what Judaism and Christianity say is that we are all committing sins on a fairly regular basis. Where we get uptight is when people start saying, because I have a desire for the sin is no longer a sin.
Yeah, the real problem is why is it a sin? Who says it's a sin?
So again,
there's these rules we're assuming are influenced by God.
Right.
But clearly written by people.
Well, this one you could say if you're a fundamentalist or at least somebody who believes in the idea that it's given by God, it's given literally by God. But again, that doesn't the logic behind the rule, which people like Maimonides have tried to explicate. The idea is, as I said, a second. This you can do without God. Right? This part you can do without God. The human sex drive was made to procreate within a stable relationship in order to progenerate and have future generations of people. Misuse of that sex drive in any way, whether you're talking about from masturbation to sexual activity, is therefore a diminishment of the use of that drive. That's a natural law case against homosexual activity. And again, I will reiterate the weekend matter 1 millionth time. I'm not in favor of any of this being voted into American law because freedom is freedom. People should be able to sin how they choose, as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
Right. But what about people that have had vasectomies? And what about women that also...
Judaism's not cool with vasectomies.
Not cool with it.
But neither is Catholicism, from what I understand.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of that one either. That way I have more experience. But, what if a man is sterile and the woman's sterile and they're allowed to have sex? Because they both know?
So there are ancillary benefits to married couples having sex, like relationship building, but that's not generalized case against the favor of female sex. That's sort of like arguing that intersex people mean that they're just two separate sexes. There are two separate sexes, and also there are intersex people who have a condition. Yeah. Right? And that's the same thing here. The case in favor of heterosexual sexual activity does not change based on the fact that some people can't have children.
What would you do if a young gay guy came to you for advice? If someone said, hey, Ben, I'm an admirer of yours, I love the way you think, and follow your philosophy, but I've got a problem. I'm a non-Jewish man, and I'm gay, and I don't know what to do. What would you tell him to do?
I mean, I can't tell them to do anything.
Right. What would you advise? Would you tell them to not act out on those feelings?
Well, I would say you do the best you can as a human being, and from my moral perspective, try to avoid sin as best you can. But everybody sins.
The problem with this not sin, though, it seems to me that it was defined that people didn't understand biology. They were dealing with humans that existed thousands of years ago, no books, no real understanding of why people were gay.
I mean, again, I really don't think that biblical commandments are linked, and religious commandments generally are linked to a view of biology. Meaning that...
You don't think so?
No, I think that all sin is a recognition that we have drives that we are supposed to forego. Okay. And that's pretty, that's fundamental to certainly Judaism and Christianity as well. I would say Islam, that's basically.
Right, when I think we can agree that there's some real benefits to discipline. There's real benefits to having structure, and it doesn't mean you can't be creative, doesn't mean you can't be free and do whatever you want some of the time too. But I think we can both agree that this is one of the best benefits of an ideology, and hopefully a positive ideology.
Right, and one of the things that the reason I keep coming back to the governmental regulation of this is because my view is that if your view of discipline is not my view of discipline, put it on you. Right, like what do you want to do? Like, I've never had a conversation with Dave Rubin about him being a gay guy.
Well, you did say that you wouldn't go to his marriage, right?
Well, I said, right, as a religious person, I can't say I can't actively participate in something that I consider to be a sin. I would go out to dinner with David and his husband many times. My wife and I would do that. Of course, we'd have over our house. His husband.
You don't find any contradiction between your religious perspective and your personal perspective in that regard. That you wouldn't be there for religious reasons, but that you would be there for personal reasons. Like if it wasn't, if you go to the after party, if you wouldn't go to the wedding, would you go to the after party?
Anything that was a celebration of same-sex marriage, no.
Wow.
So anything that like.
You go to the party?
No, I mean, is that?
What if there's a barbecue the next day? Would you consider it a tag on?
You know, and again, like I'm not sure why. I'm not a party person
gay party. I haven't been to a party with you, but I went to a dinner party.
That's true.
We had a great time.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was a good time.
That's a fun picture, man.
That is a
I
wild
don't know
picture.
what the fuck to think about that picture.
That is certainly true.
Eric, Jordan,
And Sam, yeah,
and
it's a wild
Dave,
picture.
and you and I. It's like, what
All the
in
white
the fuck?
supremacists in one place, right?
Yeah, that is a disturbing one. When they just lump you in with a bunch of fucking psychopaths just because it's convenient for them. And it's an easy way to diminish you. But that is a thing that I see more from the left than from the right. It's really disturbing. I always thought, until this clickbait generation came along, I always thought that, especially, well, you know, New York Times is obviously the higher standard, but that you would never see that kind of shit from progressive people. You would never see willful distortion of reality to define their narrative in a really disingenuous way. It happens so often now that people get called, my favorite is alt-right adjacent.
I don't know what that means.
It doesn't know what it means. It's a
Nothing
new
now.
thing. It's a new thing people are trying out. Trying it out. It might go away.
It's again, trying to lump everybody into one group for purposes of castigating their motives.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an argument with somebody if you assume they're a Nazi. So I guess if you call everybody a Nazi, you don't have to have an argument.
It is goofy. But, you know, I think when it comes to the gay marriage thing, what people really worry about is other people trying to stop people from doing what they want to do. You don't have that in you. That's not you. What you are doing is opposing it from your religious beliefs.
Right, like if you want to join into my shul, that shul has religious beliefs.
Right.
And that's my business. By the way, like, I can't join a church because I don't believe the things that people in church believe.
You probably could if you donate. You gotta give away my money.
Well, I don't believe in the Jesus, so there's that.
The Jesus?
Yeah. That's not my thing, right? So I wouldn't expect to walk into a mosque and expect them to change their standards on religion. I find it really audacious when people actually expect other people to view the world the same way they do, and then expect that they're catered to in that way. Like I wouldn't walk into a gay-owned bakery and expect them to bake a cake that has persistent Leviticus on it.
That
Why would I do
story is a weird story. You know, the baby pig story that people worried about. Those folks went to several bakers and someone said no.
This is correct.
Yeah.
They were looking for a lower case.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, that's not you being civil rights here, that's you being a jackass. Seriously, like, go to the other bakery. What
Yeah.
did people do to you? They didn't have anything to do with you. They don't owe you their cake. And if you want to boycott them, right? You want to get all your friends to say we're not going to go buy a cake from these discriminatory humans? Fine, it's free market. Have at it. But this notion that somebody owes you their services, it's not even a freedom of religion case to me. That was a freedom of association case.
Well, I think what the goal is to shame a business into submission and also to put it out there in the public eye so that people understand that this is a discrimination that does happen to gay folks where they will go somewhere and someone won't make a cake for them.
Right.
You know, and so I think they wanted to highlight it. So if I was being very terrible and I wanted to think there would be an attention horse, I would say maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're just trying to highlight this very real problem.
That's fine, but they actually like took it to the government. Once you start putting government on it, like a real thing. So again,
That's a weird one.
if you were just to
Yelp
walk-
review, yeah.
Right, exactly. You review it, right? So that much you don't like them. Fine,
Yeah.
you know what? I may disagree with you, or I may agree with you. Whatever, that's fine. But once you start going to the government and having the government like $100,000 fine on family bakeries because you couldn't find a gay bakery in Colorado, supposedly, like no, I'm sorry, that's not cool. And I feel the same way. If I walk into a bakery, they're like, you're Jewish, we're not serving you. I'd be like, okay, you're an a-hole, but all right, in a free country, and there's a bakery across the street, and we just go to the bakery and explain all your business.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that anyone would ever think like that. But should it be a law to force someone to think differently? You can't. It doesn't work.
This is my point. Is
It's a
people
slippery
like
slope,
my
too.
religious beliefs, but you're theocrat. And I keep coming back to, I'm not though. Like I don't want to force my beliefs on anybody.
You just have those
Those are
beliefs.
my beliefs, so leave me alone. And those are your beliefs, so leave you alone. And if we can't have a system where we acknowledge that those beliefs can coexist and we can still have conversations with each other or be friends, it's gonna be real hard to have a society.
You told Dave Rubin that you wouldn't go to his wedding. Did he get butthurt? No pun intended.
No, he wasn't upset about it.
No?
No, because Dave and I were friends. He knows that I have no anger or upset about him doing
I would be
whatever
like,
he
what the
wants.
fuck, man? Come on, man.
I don't know. I'm not a friends person. So I don't, like,
Do you have any friends?
I mean, I have friends, but it's like very close friends and then acquaintances. It's in a pretty close social circle.
It's smart. You have so much time in life.
That's pretty much how I feel. I'm the kind of person where it feels like a true obligation for me to drive you to the airport.
Oh,
Not a thing now.
I'm not trying to do that.
Correct. Correct.
You know
Make
how to
money
do
off
that.
me driving
Yeah,
to the
you know
airport.
how to do that.
This is exactly correct.
Those people. Well, that kind of went away for the most part. So if you find someone who's still asking for a ride to the airport, that's a greedy motherfucker. At this point, she's a greedy bitch. You know, unless it's like,
$30 on the Uber.
yeah, it's like your wife or your girlfriend wants to talk to you when you drop her off at the airport. That's totally cool.
Right. Well,
That's
this
understandable.
is that's what I mean by nice for close friends.
Yeah.
Like somebody where I'm in the car with them for half an hour and it doesn't feel like an obligation.
Yeah, you
All
have a
right.
nice conversation.
That's
Yeah.
fine. But
I value community, and I value people talking and trying to understand each other. And I've seen so much conflict that's unnecessary. I see so much conflict that's rooted in people not communicating and instead of communicating. And I think this is one of the things that I'm most nervous about with all this deplatforming and censoring people and the silencing of people on the right. And it's not that I agree with these people. It's that I see how this is just going to shore up these two sides, and it's going to make it a much more difficult atmosphere for communication, for real understanding, and coming to agreements on things, and recognizing the things that we all good people seem to agree. You should try to help each other. You should be kind to each other. You should work hard. You should have good morals and ethics. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't take from people. You shouldn't lie. You shouldn't try to cheat the government. You shouldn't try to cheat people.
Right.
Like, just be a good fucking person. And that this transcends religious ideologies. It transcends political leanings. It really does. It should. And we can have a truly diverse community. Truly diverse, not forced diversity. Diverse means some people are progressive, some people are conservative, some people are libertarian. You can joke with each other. We can all get along together and disagree with things. Just not be fucking hateful towards each other. This is possible. It becomes less possible when people feel like they're being silenced or censored.
That's totally right. And it's also true that when you castigate somebody as morally unequal, what you're really doing is you're giving an excuse to get into their shit. I mean, like, this is what's really happening here. If I had a slogan beyond the fact that I care about your feelings stuff, it was just leave me alone. Like, don't get into my shit. Like, I'm not bothering you, so why are you bothering me? And if I have a belief system that's different than yours, then so the hell what? As long as I'm not bothering you, what difference does it make to you how I feel about things?
The other thing about the gay thing is that it's not you. You have a belief about things that's not you.
But I have lots of beliefs about things that are not me.
Right, but there are people that aren't hurting each other.
But it's, so what? I mean, I can believe that people who aren't hurting each other, I'm not a fan of prostitutes. So, so, I'm not a fan of people. Here's somebody not...
Prostitutes are clearly more of a choice than I think gay people are.
Okay,
right?
but again, you're coming back to
times.
this moral distinction,
Yeah.
which I've repeated a few times,
Right.
that I'm not a believer that a natural desire to do something therefore makes an activity okay. But that's a view that has no externalities. My view has no externalities. So in the same way, I have beliefs about people who eat too much and get obese because they eat too much. I think it's a bad thing to do. I don't think it's my business. You want to do it? Your problem. Like you want to F up your life? That's what freedom is called.
Isn't it one of the 7 deadly sins? Gluttony?
Yeah, that's again a Christian thing, but yeah. But yes, I mean, and I have lots of things about lots of things that people do. And by the way, so do you. Things that don't affect you, right? I mean, we all do. But as long as I'm not forcing that on you because of externalities to your behavior, I don't see why it bothers you. Like, they're legitimately, I would assume, tens of millions of people in this country who believe that when I die, I'll go to hell. And I don't believe in Jesus, and so there are a lot of people who believe I don't believe in Jesus, therefore I am bound to hell. That does not bother me one iota, because no one's bothering me. So what do I care? Like, I don't understand why everyone doesn't take this view. If I'm not legitimately bothering you, why should you care what I think? Like, this is what would be puzzling me. If somebody came to me and they wanted my opinion on something because they value my opinion that much, I give my opinion. But you don't have to care about my opinion.
I think when it comes to the gay thing, what people are looking for is for other folks to be accepting of who they are. And I think for a lot of these gay folks that have been in the closet their whole life, that's the big things. They're always worried about someone treating them differently or someone diminishing them because of men. And when they hear someone like you say that you think it's a sin and that you shouldn't act on your biology, even though you have these urges, that you should instead find a woman, they feel the same pangs of rejection.
And I get that. I for sure get that. But the confluence between activity and identity is actually kind of a dangerous one. Meaning that the idea that if I disapprove of an activity in which you engage, that I disapprove of you.
Right.
I disapprove of lots of activities in which lots of people engage, including most members of my family, including my children, a lot of the time. That does not mean I disapprove of them as a human being, or that I'm lesser as a human being.
Right.
That, look, we all interact with people this way. Like, you disapprove of my view on this. And I don't get the feeling you disapprove of me as a human being.
No, I don't.
Right? I practice a religion. You obviously think my religion is bullshit, but that's okay. I don't care. Like, why would
I
that?
think it's bullshit. I wouldn't say I think it's bullshit.
You think it's like God spoke to what it meant bullshit, right?
Well, I don't even know if that's bullshit. What I do know is that it's a historical interpretation of stories that were, as much as they could, or as little as they wanted to be, accurately defined and written down and passed on from generation to
Okay,
generation.
so let me make an example. You think that Babylonian pork is kind of stupid?
No, I don't think it's stupid bullshit. First of all, I think pigs are intelligent. I wish they weren't wild. I have a deep affinity to pigs. I really do. I love them. But I also kill them and I eat them. I mean, I kill wild pigs.
Let me be broader about this. You're not an Orthodox Jew, so I assume there are things about the things
But I
that I
don't
do.
think it's
But there are certain things which I believe or practice that you probably disapprove, or you don't think they're the smartest, or you think that they're...
I might not think it's the smartest, but as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser, I give a fuck less about why you do what you do, but whether or not the benefits seem to be worth, the juice is worth the squeeze.
Right.
And in your case, I think the juice is worth the squeeze. I think you're a very successful person. You're very reasonable, you're very intelligent, you're an outstanding debater, and I enjoy talking to you and listening to you on YouTube. I think part of that is because of the fact of your religion.
Right.
Of your religion. I think it's cross-training. I think in a lot of ways it's like, if you lift weights for jiu-jitsu, if you're stronger, it'll make your jiu-jitsu better. As long as you train. I think your discipline from your religion there's psychological benefits to it, there's ethical benefits to it, it's a
No,
real
I
thing.
totally get all that. I guess the point is that we're different people, so there are certain activities in which I engage. You probably think, well, I wouldn't do that. You don't. And that's okay.
But I wouldn't. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I get it. I understand why you do it.
Hard to keep it under your head.
Yeah, screw it. What do all dudes do? They put a piece of double stick tape there?
Not much.
Not allowed to?
No, you can. You can. But
Okay.
it's painful.
Yeah.
The point is that in society, we all are constantly disapproving of each other, right? Politics
Yes.
is just us disapproving of each other all the time. And so long as we're not forcing that on anybody else, we really don't see the problem. And I think conversion sort of get over it. Like, if I don't approve of your personal behavior, welcome to the club. I disapprove of 99% of your personal behavior, including my own.
How often do you debate people on the merits of religion, or the merits of your belief system?
Not super frequently, but not infrequently. And like I mentioned, I've had this conversation with Sam a couple of different times.
Yeah,
Probably.
but he's so rapid as an atheist. We hadn't
He's more religious. Sam's more religious than I am. Sam is more religious atheist than I am. Like, I'll admit questions about my own religion. Sam is very, very convinced of his correctness and his viewpoint. Sam's religious too.
He's a fascinating guy.
He is. And Michael Shermer, I've had on my show to talk about religion and skepticism and all that. I'm not shy about talking about it. Sometimes I find that it's kind of a dead end. Because sometimes it just turns into, I believe in God. And then the other person's like, I don't believe in God. It's like, well, okay, fine. And that's when we talk about the stuff we think are the one of the fundamental building blocks upon which you base a society or base politics. If we agree on those, then the God stuff, I think God is a better base for those fundamental policies and belief systems and free speech, individualism, democracy. These are based on a simple verse in Genesis that human beings are made in God's image. I think that that's a logical leap. This is the case I've made since I don't think you can actually get to human beings are of inestimable value from scientific materialism. If you believe that human beings are effectively just animals, then I don't know why they would give human value, nor why I would respect somebody's belief system simply because they're human. I don't respect animals, and if we're just another animal, there's nothing that necessitates that logical line. In fact, most of human history, it was not the logical line of thinking. It was if you're a member of my tribe, then we like you. If you're not a member of my tribe, then we get to kill you.
But is that a logical comparison? Like, isn't there a difference between single-celled organisms and the way a primate interacts with its environment?
I mean, yes, but I'm not sure why that would indicate any sort of greater existential value.
It's not necessarily a greater existential value, but as we were talking about the value of community and the value of having a group of people who care about this is a core component of being human. It's a core component of this understanding mind.
That's
rational, intelligent, interfacing with the universe in a way that no other animal is capable of.
I'm not saying we can't get to the point where Sam agrees with me. I'm saying that I think it's less convincing than Sam. Meaning there's an alternative line of thought that says, okay, you're right, social fabric is great. You know that social fabric is particularly awesome among me and my friends. You know what is that great? Those guys over there. Let's go kill them and take their shit. Right, like that was pretty much like and the simple and effective idea that the reason that human beings are valued is because we are more than just our material bodies. There's something that is us that is of inestimable value. That's a religious concept. And it has to be. Now, Sam wants to get the same place, and we can build political conversations there. That's fine. My real argument with Sam is Sam and I go down to the bottom of the iceberg at 90%. We have the same fundamental value about free speech, diversity of opinion, about I think mostly an extent free markets. I think that we agree on a lot of these fundamental principles. He then says that he gets those from pure reason. I have serious questions about whether pure reason necessitates those conclusions. He tends to think that those are the only conclusions a reasonable person can come to properly apply reason. I don't think that's right.
What do you think is happening there? It's the mechanism.
I think the mechanism is our what I said to Sam when we were debating this in San Francisco is it's real weird. He's a materialist, a scientific materialist atheist who is seen across the stage from me in religious view. We agree on 95% of our values. So how? And his answer was, well, here's where I've studied everything. Buddhism, I've studied philosophies, I've studied science. So I haven't studied a lot of those things. But we have the same values. So why? It seems to me a better historical explanation is that we grew up 10 miles from each other in Los Angeles.
Oh my.
Balance with reason in the West. Location is something like this. And that location was rooted in commonality of interest and philosophy. So I'm less. There's a weird nexus, and I don't want to get too kind of deep in the weeds here. There's a weird kind of nexus on what truth is, where you've heard Sam and Jordan Peterson debate.
That was the thing.
It's wild, right? And the truth is, I'm closer to Sam than Jordan. I'm closer to Jordan than Sam when it comes to the value of religion, and I'm closer to Sam than Jordan when it comes to objective truth. Sam believes there is something objective truth. Jordan has more pragmatist and has believed that truth is sort of what's useful to a certain extent. And I agree with Sam. I'm not sure how he gets to objective truth from a scientific materialist worldview. Why is there objective truth as opposed to what you think is it? What you think is evolutionarily beneficial? How do you get from that to the universal principle that is objective truth? Well, it's a bit of a jump.
Well, it depends on what the concept is, right? Like, what are you talking about in terms of the
I'm talking about anything that Sam says is true. What makes it true as opposed to just evolutionarily beneficial person thinks it? Maybe what evolution does is it creates a series of thoughts in your mind, presumably if you're a materialist, that are beneficial to your preservation and promulgation of the species. They're not actually true, so it's beneficial. This is Sam's explanation for the prevalence of religion. People say religion isn't true, but evolutionary biology sort of drives people toward religion, so you can have group bonds that get 150 people, or whatever. So why doesn't that apply now? Why is it 2 and 2? How do you know that 2 and 2 actually equals 4? As opposed to, it's evolutionarily beneficial for you to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 4. So Sam believes there's an objective truth somewhere out there that 2 plus 2 equals 4. I don't know what evolution has to do with that sort of stuff.
So what do you think is happening that he disagrees?
So I think that what's happening is that human beings were placed in an orderly universe through the processes of biology and have a unique capacity to understand that universe because we're made. This is where I think that the religious viewpoint diverges pretty strongly from Sam's.
But you believe in evolution?
Yes.
You believe that evolution was a process that was created by God to formulate human beings?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's nothing but religious. I'm sure you must
It's like, well, here's the thing. It's not that impossible. If there was some sort of plan, there would be no regard for, like, we're going to get a rush on this. Right. Making the evolutionary being, we're going to accelerate the process.
There's all sorts of fine-tuning arguments about how implausible it would be for just having women around the universe randomly to end with human creation. You know, the alternative explanations seem no more, no less implausible thing. Like, the multiple universes theory, plausible, but we have no way to prove it. Or the now popular theory that we live in AI simulation. I'm not sure how that's more testable than God. I'm not sure how it's more testable than aliens are here. Like, how's any of this stuff? Why is that more testable or more plausible than the idea that there's a force behind that we see that has mind?
Well, let's just break this down slowly. There's obviously something that's happening. There's obviously something that went from the Big Bang to planet Earth in 2019 with cellular communication and satellite dishes. And obviously something happened. Something pretty radical. Why is it happening? Because of random events that sort of coincide with biology and technology and all these things come to fruition to you and I standing across from each other talking on this podcast in front of millions of people. Or is this just how things go? Is things compete constantly, try to get better, and then in this gigantic ecosystem of all these things competing, trying to get better, one super successful organism rises above and continues and by far passes all these others below it and moves in our estimation. I mean, if you really believe in evolution, you can't think it's done. It's got to be moving towards some better product. It keeps going until it creates.
So this is why I say Sam's more religious than I think there's a plausible argument for atheism. I just don't think there is a plausible argument for Sam's moral vision of atheism. Meaning that what Sam tends to do is, like, for example, you and I have talked a lot on this particular podcast about the value of self-evaluation and making decisions, being responsible for those decisions. How does that work in an area where you don't have free will? So Sam actively says we do not have free will.
Yeah, that's a weird conversation.
It is a weird conversation, sort of self-defeating one. Sam suggests when it comes to the scientific method, we are using science to find out truth about the universe. And we're using reasons. We're very big on reason. I also am big on reason, but I don't know how Sam is defining reason as opposed to just an evolutionarily beneficial argument. Meaning that that's what we are, right? We're ultimately wandering purposeless through the universe. And then we talk about making our own meaning or seeking human prosperity or flourishing through ellipses. These are all very active verbs. This is an active vision of man in the universe. Right. And I'm not sure how that flows from one ball that evolved from another ball that evolved eventually from non-balls to being without any free will, without any capacity to choose. I don't think we're
There's two different conversations here. One is determination or determinism, whether or not you have free will or whether or not your life past, by your biology, by your learned experiences, by external pressures, what is causing this very clear decision that you make? Is this free will? Are you deciding, I'm gonna get my shit together? Or are all the factors around you pushing you and funneling you into this direction that it's unavoidable? And then you are not a product of free will, you're just a product of a lot of different factors. Or is it both? Is it that you are the product of your environment and your life experiences, and you also have free will?
Right, and I'm in the latter group.
I'm in the latter group, I think, as well. I think we also experience great benefit from making positive choices and then experiencing. Whenever you meet someone who's lost a lot of weight, one of the things that happens is fucking tremendous feeling of accomplishment.
Yep.
You know, like, yeah, I lost 100 pounds. Like, holy shit, man, 100 pounds.
Right.
Like, they get this positive feedback. There's real good in making good choices. And when people decide to get their shit together and make a good choice, they're rewarded. The question is, are you doing that because of determinism, or are you doing that because of free will? Or are you doing that because of a combination of both of those things? And can you fuel that free will through outwardly seeking things that are motivational, things that are educational, things that allow you to kind of remap the way you process reality, which can be extremely beneficial and can aid in you taking steps towards exercising your free will.
Right. Well, and this is why I think that in the end, but I think it's a very fundamental question, and I think that's why in the end I'm religious, and I'm not sure why Sam isn't, because he agrees with the same premises. Right. He'll talk about self-evident decisions that you can make, and then he'll write a whole book about
Yes, it's well, I think it's a thought experiment. First of all, I think the whole determinism thing is a thought experiment because there's really no way to determine.
Right.
So you
But
can
you have to act as though, for sure, right? I mean, there's no way to act otherwise. But
I
guess
I absolutely act as if I have free will.
right, and we all do.
And I get angry at myself and I fuck things up. I don't say, well, it's just determinism, man.
Right.
No, it doesn't get you in the butt knee. Where I'm the kind of guy that gets upset if I fuck things up. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I don't know if you know either. That's my take on all these things. When people get really rigid with their ideology,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I want to hear it out. I want to hear the whole thing. You know, I want to hear it all. I'm not sure if you know.
I think there's a lot that I don't know, but I think that there's more possible, less possible.
I agree. This is where I think people misunderstand. You have your beliefs, but you're not a guy that imposes them. And I think we need to be way more reasonable in terms of the way we address people's beliefs. And I've been guilty of this in the past. I'm sure many listeners have. Everyone has. But I think it's a core component is to allow people to have their own beliefs. And you know, who knows, man? Maybe your beliefs on gay people will adjust and move over time as you get older and move into a gay neighborhood.
Again, it's not about tolerance.
I understand. I know. It's a religious thing.
It's a difference between understanding people as whole people and then saying that I don't like some of the things that they do, and simply saying that making me some things I don't like some of the things that you do, we can't be friends, or I disapprove of you as an entire human being, which I think is not true.
It's a good belief system to have if you're straight. And then you go, look, got it locked down, don't need to worry about that. I got a problem. If you're gay, goddamn, it'd be a pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be annoying. You just always want to bang dudes, and everyone's saying no.
No,
that's what I want to do. They want to bang me.
Nobody's religion's easy, man.
What's the value in it, though? If you're a giant homo, all right, and all you want to do is go to gay discos, party your ass off, that's what you enjoy. Some people like golf, okay? Some people like parasailing. Some dudes just want to fucking get it on, man. They want to dress up like village people and go have a fucking party. That's why Santa Monica Boulevard is such a hot spot. They find each other.
You know, do whatever you want to do. Honestly, do whatever you want to do. Just don't ask me to think that, you know, don't ask me to, like, put my stamp of moral approval on it.
I understand.
But do what you want to do. Like, it's free.
This
it should be a free country. Not just it is a free country. It should be a free country. It should not be my job to police your personal behavior. Right? Like, you doesn't mean I have to prove it on personal behavior. But I'm a jerk if I want to impose my belief system on your personal behavior that affects no one else.
I understand that. And I'm a hypocrite if I continue to berate you about your opinion on gay folks. What do I give a fuck what your opinion is?
Correct.
Because you are a reasonable person, and you're very polite, and you're in friends with Taylor. So there you go. There's gotta be something there. It's a strange thing though. This need that people have for everyone to think the way they think, and I understand the need to reinforce your own thoughts and argue them and try to figure out a way to debate that the other person's perspective is incorrect and your perspective is correct. I understand all these inclinations that people have, but I think that they conflate that with bigotry. You know, and I don't think you're a bigot. I don't agree with you about gay folks, but that's one of the few. The marijuana things is I just don't think you have any experience in it.
Right, and as far as disagreeing, I think that we probably don't disagree on gay folks. I think we disagree on identity and gay activity and all the rest of it. I mean, as human beings, these are human beings. I know many gay people I think are significantly better human beings than religious people.
You know, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I think there's in a way I don't have a defined religion, but in a way I have some pretty rigid ideas that I have in my head about behavior and ethics and morals and how you treat people you care about. Those are like, they're pretty rigid. And I think one of the things that religion does is it allows you to have this sort of ethical framework, sort of like it's called scaffolding. Like when you're building, like it allows you to develop a more disciplined life, and it just shows you this is good and this is bad and it's clear. And this for the most part, it's good. For the most part, these are good habits to follow. And I think that I've most certainly sort of adopted my own somewhere along the line.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this is effectively a form of religion.
Right, so when you're saying that Sam is religious, he's a religious atheist, you're not being inaccurate. There's a lot of folks do that. We do develop these sort of principles that we follow. We're not just free willy-nilly, just doing whatever we want all day long. No one does that.
And the reason I say it sort of facetiously, but I think we all make fundamental assumptions about the nature of human life, and we have to recognize that those are assumptions. It's not reason over reasons are the only ones that matter.
Yeah.
So it's my reasons all the way down. I acknowledge that we're all making some assumptions, and then we can discuss whether those assumptions are worthwhile.
Yeah, the thing that when it comes with religion and defining what other people behaviors, where it doesn't involve you, that's where a lot of folks start thinking that maybe these are very big.
Correct, it does involve me. Meaning that, well, I'm informed every sin that I say the sin is specifically with me. It's just I may not have a desire for that particular sin. Meaning I'm not looking for a different standard than I hold myself, nor am I saying that I don't.
I know that you have different biological desires than they do. Kind of acknowledge that, right?
Of course that's true. Of course that's true. By the same token, I assume that maybe I don't have the desire for found love, which most certain guys do.
Yeah. What do you think if God has a plan? Why did we create people?
I mean, I think God creates, well, I don't think that I'm in a position to
Which I was. If you like honest.
If I think, yes, I create people with all sorts of different challenges, and those challenges span the two. I mean, I'm not.
So God sneaks it up on you. Hey man, I know this is gonna be fucked up, but you're gonna just like dudes. Like you gotta women, you gotta like dudes.
I am not.
I want to be a God. Listen to my old book.
I don't know. I got gifted bread. I don't know. I got gifted cancer. I don't know a lot of things about that. Which I did. Would make my life a lot easier.
So you think that is a challenge, akin to any other challenge that a human being might face in this life? A challenge,
But a lot harder. Yeah, a lot more difficult. A lot more frustrating. Yeah, of course.
But you think there's value in following that challenge and not acting on theory?
I think that.
Having sex with a woman who's fucking also.
Oh my.
I don't know. Did you create a baby out of that? That means that maybe like part of your life now that you did. Maybe. There are a lot in it. A lot of you guys have kids. Well, I mean, as a general rule, living my like there's living your opinion, which is fine. Your opinion, how you want. Again, I get back to do what you want as long as it's not bothering me. Living my truth.
That's one of the social media creations. Living my truth.
So that's your bullshit. I'm sorry. Living my truth. Like there's no such thing as your truth. There's no truth, and then there's your opinion. You have, for purposes of conversation, at the very least, it's deeply irritating when people say living my truth. That's like I disagree with you. And then well, you're disavowing me as a human being. No, I just disagree. Like you can be you. You can do what you want. You do whatever, man. Like, how did I become the most loosey-goosey libertarian lean-back guy in the world in this society? How is this possible? The most uptight person I know. How is this a thing?
Well, you know it's all about you. Before you go left, you use the same sort of zealotry that you do in the other life. These crazy people that are just connected to your idea of being correct. You can stand all these issues on that side or on the right side. It's so goddamn cool. It's also
I agree.
that's one reason why it's so disgusting to these label people. Like, I've seen that go to country really picture expense. What in the fuck? Like, that is such a disingenuous thing to do. And you know what to do. You're trying to do an actor, talk about it, but it's bullshit. Yeah. But you are locked into that far left ideology, as far left as you can go. And it's one of the problems with ideologies that have these extremes, is that you believe in a percentage of the things these people say, but then they go way too far with it. But you're connected to them.
Oh my Christ.
Even though you don't have a similar notion.
Ralph, over suggesting that failure to ask questions and give thoughtful answers gives
Oh my God.
Hey, so he did a whole piece where he said there are lots of conversations about IQ and race. And I love these conversations. Then they suggest wrongly that black people are inherently unfit to make people more fun on all of it. And he says there are great ways to explain how much IQ is cultural, how much we change, how much genetic, how much actually matters in terms of real life outcomes. We can do all those things. But when you say, don't ask the question, stop asking the question, then you make people Google, and the only thing that they will Google and find are answers that are given by people who are actually alt-right. And he got ripped as alt-right for this.
Yes,
His entire argument was don't allow people to push into alt-right answers by failing to give them proper responses or by throwing them out the window. And then, well, you're alt-right now because you're saying that people shouldn't ask questions.
Well, it's almost like
it's the exact same version as people in the religious community where it's like, you know, I used to go to Sunday school and then I asked too many questions and they kicked me out. Right? That's not how religion's supposed to work. That's not how reason is supposed to work. It's not how ethics is supposed to work.
Right, and there's also, when you're investigating anything, any measurable thing, when you find a number, whatever it is, like these people, like the Asian folks are better at mathematics, so European folks are better at this. What's the reason for that? But let's find out. Is it cultural? Is it biological? Is it something? Can we learn about how human beings evolved and adapted? Why are Nigerians so smart? Like, there's so many Nigerians that come to this country. They thrive. They thrive in business. They're extremely motivated. They're extremely disciplined. It's like almost like Korean folks. Why do Koreans? Like, why are they so hardworking? Why do they strive? And obviously, these are big generalizations. But what is it about Italians? What makes them wear gold chains and love mafia movies? Like, what is it? Those are my people. What the fuck? Why do they all talk like that? Like, what is that? What causes any sort of ethnic group to turn out the way they turn out? Why are some European Jews Nobel Prize winners? What the fuck is going on over there?
And also, like, what is the impact of the measurable on how we live our lives? How much does this stuff matter? Is this a result of discrimination or is this a result of something else? Is it true that whether racially or non-racially, there will be disparities between those groups of people? It's just true statistically. Like, but not asking those questions. Shut down the questions. What it actually does is lead people to only get the answers to the questions from the people who don't know what they're talking about in many cases, and who are giving convenient, easy, and self-flattering answers about the nature of themselves.
The fear is it being used by racists to reinforce their positions. Right. But what we find out is that Asians are a superior race.
Right, and they'll do that anyway. Like, one of the funniest things about white supremacists is they're so fucking stupid. Pardon the language. Like, the white supremacists are invariably not the Nobel Prize winners. You go to a white supremacist compound, you're not looking at a bunch of people for hearing answers. These people piss me off, and I'll say all that, but bad media will leave me out right tomorrow. That's how it's goes.
Well, the disingenuous media that's being less and less taken seriously. Taken less and less seriously. It seems to me that trend, which is a common trend for the last few years of these clickbait bullshit and articles and mislabeling people, it's going to go away. because your perspective is not going to be appreciated. It's only going to be respected if you're obviously making disingenuous statements. And I think we're in this weird position where it's very difficult to find real journalists and real objective takes on things not flavored by their ideology. And everybody's trying to shape everybody. They feel like it's their obligation to feel many of the right things. They feel like it's their obligation to change your perspective on national subjects and things that are very important. It's not their obligation to just report what's going on, but also to flavor things in a way that make one side.
Yeah, well, I'm very much in favor of journalists revealing their bias. And I think that the greatest line is so I'm conservative. You know, go to my side. Conservative spin on the news. That's the way it's done. And guess what? CNN's liberal. And that's just the way this is going to go.
Did you see the video when the Mueller report came out? It looked like somebody was
Crazy.
Shouldn't you be happy?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be happy if you guys believe in Mueller? Everybody was like, Mueller, he's gonna go get Trump. This guy's methodical. He's precise. He's gonna find out everything.
Voted candle with his face on it, like bird. Yeah, and then he came out and he was like, well, I'm no collusion of this spot. I guess they know.
Yeah. Like what? Wait a minute.
Yeah, maybe the narrative is the narrative is the actual job you're supposed to do, guys.
Oh my god, piece of shit.
There were so many people that were making statements that, in retrospect, are probably like you could probably. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not a litigious person, but if I was a guy like Donald Trump,
oh man, yeah,
there's so many people to sue.
It was amazing. I remember I was on the Bill Maher's show, and we were supposed to talk about free speech stuff, and 5 minutes before, and said, let's talk about Russia. Let's talk about Russia. So we get on. Yeah, this is like right before this was a topic.
Just tell you what to talk about. Some guy comes in before.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange. And we got on stage, and he's talking about Trump Russia. And I said what I've always said, which is I'll wait for the evidence to come out, and then I'll make a decision as to whether Trump Russia. And Bill Maher goes, you don't believe it was a thing? I was like, well, I don't see any evidence that it was a thing. Like, I see some evidence of abuse to like John Jr. I see some attempts of people trying to get information. I don't see evidence of like actual legal collusion. And why don't we just wait? Like, you guys wanting Mueller to give it, let's just wait on it. And Mark could not believe that this was my perspective. Right? It was like shocking. Why should be perspective? I'm waiting for more evidence to be shocking to anyone when it is obvious the evidence is not accurate. And why is that in any way controversial?
Well, it's because people know this. You need to let everyone know that they're on the right side. And they want you to know that they do believe in a collusion. If you disagree with that, for whatever reason, you must either be a right-wing person, a Trump supporter, someone who's in denial, someone who doesn't look at the evidence, and you're part of the problem.
Yep.
But the real problem was jumping.
I admire your tenacity. Truly I do. For show. But things have really gotten out of control here. You've all quickly gone from precocious, lovable scamps to problematic liabilities. How ridiculous. Are we truly the only sane people on this twisted island? Or perhaps we're the crazy ones, and they're all sane. What a twist that would be. No, that's impossible. These guys are bat whoop crazy. We gotta get to Hattie ASAP. As soon as we're home like a bullet. Mega supery fast. But you gotta get through that vault and get that key first. And this particular vault is more dangerous than telling a girl she's chubby. Oh my god! I know, right? It's a poop-inducing nightmare in there. You're gonna be killed until you're dead. But, you know, put your big girl panties on.
You can prove malice.
The real problem, and this is something that is very similar to what we were talking about earlier.
So obnoxious.
When you say something, and you say it over and over and over again, and you say it with such conviction, and it becomes a giant part of your news narrative, and then that something turns out to be horseshit.
Yep.
You just massively empower Trump.
That's exactly right. I've said for a long time that I'm not a big fan of Trump's fake news shtick because I think he applies it too broadly. I think that whenever there's bad piece of news, sometimes yes, and sometimes no. And now they just blew a 2-year narrative where he was clearly in Putin's pocket. How many people do you think are going to listen to the nuanced view of fake news yet? How many people do you think are going to actually believe Trump when he says that the bad piece of news is legitimately a fake news?
Yeah, it empowers him in a spectacular manner. They made a giant mistake.
Oh yeah, they blew this one in spectacular.
And people are still hanging in there with
All
it.
they have to do, this is true for so many people right now, all you have to do is not get crazy. Just stop it.
Who's the guy who was talking about the possibility that Trump is a Russian asset since like 1987 or something? Who the fuck was that?
I mean, Andrew McCabe, former FBI director, was asked whether Trump was legitimately a Russian asset. He said, I don't know. It's like you're using the power of the institution you used to run to spread this nonsense. And you got that from John Durham, former head of the intelligence agencies. It doesn't make anything. The intelligence agencies need to wildly protect. What the head of the intelligence agencies are using their platform to proclaim that they have inside information about Trump and utter nonsense. I'm not sure these people have that much power.
Is that what he's saying, or is he saying he doesn't know?
He didn't say that. He was saying, like, I have basically, I expect Mueller's going to indict as a former professional. I expect, there's a lot of that. Got a chip on that.
It's crazy now. What did they do now? Like, how did they get around from this? This is something they didn't just say once. This is something they said for 2 years. Right. You see the compilation video?
Oh, yeah, they're amazing.
They've done with the rap music. They put beat behind it. You see it? No, there's some great ones. Some great these compilations of people saying possible collusion, possible collusion, possible.
Yeah.
And this music that goes with it, they just cut through possible collusion with the Russian. Possible Russian collusion.
Yeah.
Possible Russian collusion.
They blew the major way.
Yeah, he was very shady. You have to go with that. The idea that he was a traitor.
It's like trying to get rich and viral, and he decided to go through a Russian traitor. It was like it's their mate out or something. Which could possibly be
The only way he could have ever beaten Hillary.
Sorry, I'm going to shoot.
Can I get out of here, man?
I do.
When you right now?
Like,
I want to ask you one more question.
just one more question.
What do you think about this Chelsea Manning situation? I don't know exactly what happened other than she's in contempt of court, and so they've got her in solitary confinement now. This is about testifying against WikiLeaks.
I'll be honest, I haven't followed that closely. I mean, my understanding is that Chelsea Manning,
Did you call her Bradley?
no, he changed his name. Chelsea is a biological name.
Can't don't believe you're misgendering. Are you dead naming as well?
No, I don't dead. But unless we're talking about when he committed his crime, which was actually Bradley. Right? We're talking about the person who was convicted. That was a male named Bradley Bannon.
So you're always formerly known as Bradley?
If we're talking about the human being who's currently in jail, that is a male who's currently known as Chelsea. So my understanding is that Chelsea Bannon is refused to hand over information that he was legally bound to hand over back to Helix. And now there were complaints that he's held in solitary. That's not true apparently, and that he's being mistreated. I do find it weird to see people complaining about Donald Trump coordinating with WikiLeaks. I'm very upset about Chelsea Bannon going to jail.
What is wrong? It's only dependent upon whether or not they're supporting the narrative you want.
That's exactly right. And it's right and left. Exactly. It's right and left. The people on the right was like Julian Assange worked, and then 2016 happened. There's the person that no, I'm pretty sure Julian Assange is WikiLeaks that's there. And take next out.
Do you think that they became a Russian front group to try to stay operative and stay safe? Because they're obviously being attacked by the United States government and in danger of being shut down, and then
Oh, yes, I just know enough how WikiLeaks to
I don't know, but I know he's been trapped in an embassy since 2012. I've been there for like 7 years now, right? That is a long time. Can't go outside, no sunlight. Pamela Anderson visits every now and then. He's fucked, man. I mean, it's a terrible place to be, and I don't know if it's better than prison. It's like the stress of him never knowing when they're going to come knock down the door and pull him out of there. It's like, how well is that guy? Yeah, 7 years now. Embassy.
It can't be great. It can't be great.
It's got to be awful. They took his internet away, right?
That's
fun.
I'll let you like releasing it for specific American soldiers.
Really? They didn't redact any of the names? Really?
Yes. So I think the whole thing about Manning is that
and WikiLeaks just released it?
yeah, that was actually okay, if you find it pretty
I just don't know if there's folks, you have to Google this one. So, one of the things I was thinking when Trump got into office while I was during that one, I wonder if Trump would be I wonder if Trump would be happy.
depends if it helped him.
Yeah,
Sure, right?
Or even, and Snowden as well.
Well,
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. I mean, unfortunately, politics very often has little to do with what everything is convenience.
Yeah.
So, it's helpful, sure.
And a guy like him who's always anti-deep state, talking about he's extremely critical.
Yes, but I have a feeling once you actually see what they see, I think that remember Obama was too.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, he's joining me. So, like, it's... So,
listen, I know you're gonna get that. Wrap this up. Tell people about your book.
yeah, so you can check out my book, The Right Side of History. It talks about a lot of sort of deeper issues we're talking about, Christian values, reason. Sort of, it's a kind of short-form philosophical history of the West, from Sinai through Greece.
I had one friend, she was like, married mayor, and she's like, and she's also doing business, and I was like, listen, I need to come more coffee, and she also like the kids who are coming down. I was like, if you adopt, and like you're gonna have a 12-year-old, I really appreciate you guys, thank you so much. So, that's not, you know, like if you think you're gonna have a kid and it's gonna make you happy, that's not what having a kid is. I think it makes you know yourself better in a different way, and you can adapt and do something different. But I think when people still have that little bit, it's like, well, do you want to?
Yeah. You definitely shouldn't adopt if you think it's going to be easy.
That's what I mean. It's like she had this romantic idea, and I go, you know, first of all, you don't know where the kid is coming from, and then also you have a romantic. I think every parent almost has a romantic idea. I did, and I'm a pretty realistic person of like, I'm going to do all these things right, and we're going to be, you know, running in sunflower fields together, and my kids are never going to make any successful and try. And then you realize, I've been telling you, everyone gets their turn to barrel, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
You have to navigate stuff. You're going to have to.
Yeah, and on the other hand, it's awesome when someone does adopt people. They're really good. They know what they're getting into, and those martyrs out there, and those people that are just super kind and generous and love to adopt children. Like, God bless them.
Yeah.
So glad they're there.
Yeah.
It's just, I agree with you that there are some people that have a romanticized idea of a child.
It's unfair too, still. Like I love the moms like, someone even number 2 or whatever to somebody. It's like, oh, you know that they're behind closed doors doing, you know, like, they just want everyone to stay quiet. I have 3 kids, you should have 3 kids, you know.
There are people like that, right?
They do.
Yeah. There's people that have a kid and need it to be
So, yeah, you're like, I wonder who is the fool. I can't talk about that.
Well, don't you think you're a better person?
Oh.
To make you feel like you're more intuitive and nicer and more aware of what you need to be doing?
Yeah, I not only that, I feel like it's a forced exploration if you're trying. Like if you just lay down the law and go, okay, in this house this is how we do it, then you're not doing anything. But I think if you learn to adapt and also go, wow, I've been doing that wrong for like 10 years. Amazing. You know, like one of my daughters at 12 or 13 sort of revealed some stuff about what she was unhappy about my parenting, and I was like, I never doing that. So I think it's...
That's cool that she had the confidence to do that, though.
Yeah, it's so cool. I wanted to hear that like when she was 30 at the Thanksgiving table. She moved out. I was like, what? You're supposed to reveal all that like after you move out. And then I go, oh, well, did I do that? Sorry.
Look, it turned out great.
It's amazing. The time to play. No, I think... no, listen, it's a surrender. I think for me it's been a real surrender because I just think you think you're in control of stuff and you think, oh, I've got some discipline, work ethic, I just work my way through it or power my way through it, and then you realize like, no, you have to surrender and also about solving it quickly and yeah, it is. I know myself and it is uncomfortable.
Well, I've been really fascinated by life with Hawaii. That it's because I've always had this like idealized one day with a big island, just chilling somewhere. Stop fucking around, fly out to do gigs, live out there where everything's just more relaxed.
Yeah.
You know, is it okay?
You know, there's a lot going on, and like Big Island is obviously big.
That's a city.
Yeah, no, it's big.
Well, not Big Island.
Yeah, Oahu has, it's sort of like LA on the beach, but you know, there's a couple things. I think because it is a primal environment, like we live in Hawaii, which is pretty heavy duty as far as it's quiet, there's not a lot of distraction. There's a really heavy duty nature, and so I grew up in St. Thomas on the Virgin Islands, so I was used to kind of being on an island, but you're with yourself a lot. So if you have things to do that are productive, then it's perfect. But what you have to always calibrate is like the downtime, or if like it's been raining off and on for like over a year. Yeah. So after a while, it'd be like Seattle in that way where people are getting heavy.
But it's sunny too, right?
It can be.
That's the weirdest thing about islands.
Yeah.
That there's different climates on this island. Like the Big Island has desert, it has tropical rainforest, there's a volcano, there's all this shit,
It has
snow.
I think it has every weather climate except Arctic. I believe at least Maui and Big Island have sort of every type of climate.
It's crazy. They just a little further down to be different. Rain comes up.
Yeah, exactly. You're just going to go outside and it's completely dry, or they have to work trees because they never see the sun, and they're 200 feet, and then they see the sunny. It's pretty trippy.
And you can drive around the whole thing. Like how many hours does it take you to drive around?
Oh, the Big Island? I don't know, like 4 hours.
The whole thing?
I think so. Maybe a little more. Yeah. You like the Big Island?
Love it. I like Maui.
You do?
That's my favorite.
Every island's different. Their personalities are different. But I like it. I mean, we've been doing this for over 23 years. When I met Larry, big waves start to come in winter. So when low pressures bring snow, like with the rest of the mainland, that low pressure comes in big waves. And then in the summer, so we sort of went back and forth, and that's a really good blend. Because you can come to California and be like, oh, it's a busy world. I can see a lot of people. I can learn stuff. I can do stuff. And then I also make sure to appreciate. You go back to Hawaii, like clean air, really clean weather, very beautiful. Some of the ways, the ideas about the way they live, it's simple in a good way. I don't mean in any way like a derogatory. It's like they're not angling, trying to get somewhere. It's like no, we're living.
Right.
But it can be also a really hard place. Really hard place.
How so?
Well, I think and you're also talking about a warrior culture, right? Polynesians. So you have like this very intense love, and when you talk about the aloha spirit, generosity, they like this, and then they're very powerful people as well. And sometimes, if they're not living in their most natural way that they were supposed to, and then you couple it with, there's not a ton of opportunities there. It's hard to live there. It's far away. It's expensive. And sometimes, it sounds cliche, but it's like we really do, as human organisms, either need to be busy. So like, okay, working from sunup to sundown for our food, which is how it used to be, and then you're just so tired, you just go to bed, and it's pretty simple, but that's just survival. Or in the world that we live in now, it's like, how do we get people doing things that are productive? And you think, oh, I just would sit on the beach and look at the mountain. Like, you're not allowed to get bored. And if you're a warrior, you're either going to go, do something with that is good for you, or you might not. So I think there's a lot of that there. I've learned a lot from that culture. But they're pretty powerful. They're a powerful group, and you can go the other way where it's there's some drugs, alcohol, beefing, and like it's all that. So it's
that was really disturbing when I found out how much drug use there is on Sunday Island.
Yeah, especially.
It's sad.
Well, again, it goes back to boredom. Like, think about it, your kids have to stay home for 1 day.
Yeah.
It's just, and now we have all this, the internet and all this stuff, so now you sort of think, oh, the rest of the world has they're all busy and doing fabulous, perfect things. And it's hard. Like, you gotta find people that are like, let's do something, let's go. Can you train alone every single time? No. So you have to have a tribe of people that are like, let's go do this activity, and sometimes not.
So you said there's 7 islands
on Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii's probably the least inhabited. It's the oldest island, where it has most erosion, largest beaches. And that's where they grew up. And it's a really
nice least inhabited.
Well, yeah, it's not that I don't count it. Yeah, of the bigger islands.
Right.
Yeah, Molokai, man, you don't mess with it.
No?
That's like you gotta have permission to go hang out over there.
Really?
Oh, kind of. Yeah, it's cool though. But it's like if they're like, no, you gotta you're out. You gotta go.
Really?
Totally.
So
it's great.
So it's just the people that live there. You can't like move them all.
Yeah, Eddie Vedder has a place on Molokai.
Does he?
Yep, and it's had for many, many years. But I think he probably asked if that was gonna be cool. Yeah. It's beautiful.
That's a
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place and the people are amazing, but it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna buy a house there. Or build a house. There's no way.
No way? Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
These different islands have their own like rules.
Well, Nihiau is, you can't go there.
You're not even allowed to go?
No.
I didn't even know that was an island.
Yeah, it's off of Hawaii.
Say it again, Nihiau?
Nihiau. Yeah.
Wow. You ever heard of that? Jay's a big fan of Nihiau.
Yeah. He looks like Nihiau. No, they probably have the largest percentage of Hawaiians there. So it's cool.
That's got to be a great. Like I found that there's a big difference between the culture of say Maui versus the culture of Lanai. Lanai is more islandy to me, whereas Maui seems like a little bit gentrified.
Well, also the wind, because Maui's so windy.
Yes.
It brought all the Europeans in the 80s to windsurf. So you also have not only mainland U.S. and then Japanese culture, 80s. Now you're talking about Europeans for wind and windsurfing. So it has a lot going on. I think Maui, it was almost like a surprise how quick it developed, and they never had a chance to be on top of it. If that makes sense. Yeah.
It's so popular. And it's also like so LA, it's wherever it goes.
I lived there. We were there. Yeah, there was a bay there that they were just having a love affair with for many years. So we lived there. So we could be close to girlfriend.
That's so strange.
They didn't know the boy needs to see girlfriend. Just something. That's what I always think kind of natural is, at least from my experience, is like, I don't know if you ever go through this when you go home. I'll literally go out and surf for many hours. I can go out for 5 hours at a time and figure surf. And he comes home and I see how happy he is. Like he is. And he loves us. He's like, oh my god. And then about, I don't know, 7.5, 8 minutes in, he starts to get this look on his face like, oh yeah, I'm in the house, like with the family. I wanted to do a book years ago called Death by Domestication, because it's like, how does he manage both of those sides? Like, I need to go, I need to be free, I need to chase things and like scare myself and do all this stuff, and then comes home and it's like on the floor laying with one of my daughters and being kind of afraid of stuff, but always getting used to
Especially the big wave surfer mindset. The type of person, those are like some of the freest, wildest humans on the planet. It's a very unusual group of people that rides giant waves of water on the top of the ocean. That's a crazy idea to get your time to.
I tried not to think about it because I did marry him, but there's some stuff. I mean, and weirdly, he's been doing this so long that you realize he's actually even more different than some of the other guys. Because if you think about it, he's sustained doing this right now 40 years. So he's a guy who he has both. So what he wants to do is ride a huge wave during the day and then be with his family at night. And sometimes, he would take going halfway around the globe or whatever. And so I think the pursuit, and they have to wait a lot. That's the other thing. These things don't come around that often. It's very interesting to live with because there's a little bit of suffering that goes on. And sometimes Larry will say to me, because he's aware of time going by, he'll be like, I have a lot more weight than you ride. And I'm like, I know. Like, it's a pretty deep falling. And now that he's been foiling for 25 years, but now that they are getting that equipment better, it's sort of like now we can ride places that we couldn't ride, that were not really attractive for riding on top of the surface of the water, even if we coated. So now it's opened up a whole other pursuit for him. Yeah, it's very. I don't know why he would go towards that though. Like Larry's put me on a ski in front of a wave that's like 60 feet.
Right.
And like being on the back of a ski with him driving, there's a moment where you go, okay, and I'm sure you've experienced this with other friends that take a medium of flying or something. This is what he does, right? So I'm like, okay, I trust him more than I'm afraid. That's fine, I can do that. I'm gonna surrender to that. I'm not gonna torture myself the whole time. And you come and there's a 6-story building behind you moving, and you just think, like, well, how's that fun? Like, how is saying like, I'm gonna actively ride that. But now with the foils, because they're actually catching the energy below the surface of the water. So they have these things called foils. So originally there was a guy named Mike Murphy who created something called air chair, and they've been putting foils on like water skis in different funky ways, like even in the 50s. So Larry's friends got an air chair and cut the chair off and put a snowboard boots bindings really. So you'd stand on it, you're booted in, and below is basically a mini airplane with a strut. So for example, yeah, there's a shot one, and this is a smaller one. Jamie, do you have anything with the big boots? I think
This is what people are using. Did you know what club is?
Wow. Everything we talked about. Yeah. Do you have a girlfriend?
What happened to this dude's head?
Oh yeah. So there's Laird on the left, obviously. So you see how he buried the boots, and also the reason he looks so puffy is he has flotation underneath his wetsuit. So if you hit your head or what have you, but it's basically a miniature airplane underneath the surface. And if he gets into trouble, if they wiped out, they have quick release. But now they've gotten this developed so that he can do it without boots. So that adds an element of danger that you're strapped in and your strut is 4 feet long. Yeah, but it's horrible. So there's a miniature airplane. Do you have any pictures of it? I'm sure if you look at stuff, you can see the bottom. It's like a miniature airplane because water is denser than air, so it's sort of like a miniature plane. And it is like the Oracle guys that do those boats have made foils for Laird. Yeah, so those are kind of more low performance, high performance. Aerodynamics, hydrodynamics, it's all of that. So now what you're doing is, because there's energy below the surface moving, so we think of the wave like pushing and dropping, but there's actually the energy, circular energy below. So now you've got the foil that can ride that, but you don't have drag. So like they can go, there's a wave on Kauai where they're going over, they go about 52 miles an hour. So imagine if you did something where you dedicated yourself to martial arts. It's like, then there's a new one. And so he's been doing the big stuff for 25 years, but now they're using right that he can ride waves that actually wouldn't be that great, but now they're so it makes him excited and so pursues it. That's on Kauai right there. See how it's not even breaking where he rides it?
Yeah.
So it's
no drag.
Correct, and it's actually riding the energy below the surface, which, for him, he's just interested in what's the most efficient way. And look at that, we've never in regular surfing be able to ride that. So it enables them. You're flying. That's what they say.
Incredible.
That's what it's the difference, right? So you're flying. So that's the thing. well, I mean, usually I know sharks again don't have great sight, but they're not like, huh. I think they understand most times what's food, obviously changing.
But there are instances of hit by sharks, right? Hawaii's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Australia is worse as far as like more, and South Africa is really a lot of sharks. Now, Hawaii has their share, but nothing crazy. There's a story that happened like 3 weeks ago in Hawaii in Honolulu Bay. This guy, great surfer, finishes his ride, jumps off his board, and jumped onto a shark.
Oh, Jesus.
And the shark like turned, I guess, and sort of threatened the firefighter, this guy, and like raised his leg and split. And I think it's just a reminder that sharks ultimately really don't want to have anything to do with you. I mean, maybe hammerhead maybe a little more aggressive, bull shark is the most, because I think right they have the most amount of testosterone of any animal.
The ones that can go to fresh water, too.
Yeah, the bulls. So they're sort of more actively aggressive, but I mean, I don't think a shark, you're not ready.
I watched a television show where they found bull sharks way up in Illinois River.
That'd be scary.
Whatever river it is in Illinois, I don't know what river it is, but they found them deep in fresh water.
Yeah.
These sharks make their way all the way from the ocean.
And then, did you see anything about testosterone? I think of any animal, they have the largest amount of testosterone. Something like that.
I mean,
Yeah, they are.
they're responsible for that, the actual news incident that influenced the creation of the movie Jaws.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it happened in a river in New Jersey.
New Jersey, can you imagine?
A river, like a freshwater river. These people getting murdered by sharks. Like, yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what it was based on. They didn't know that these fuckers can swim way up in the fresh water.
And they just got a hold of people?
Got a hold of people.
Yeah, because those buggers are really aggressive.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the most aggressive. Yeah.
But I think, you know, for me with the sharks, like even Jaws impacted me with that soundtrack, and I was living in the Caribbean. And it's just like, my kids, whenever my one daughter's like, oh, can I get this movie? I'm like, no, because we live in Hawaii. You can't be watching that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Oh, it's not real?
Sounds good though. Yeah, much more like
Pretty on bull shark.
Yeah. But tiger sharks aren't mean. No? Well, bulls aren't mean than tigers.
Yeah, they say bull and hammer are more aggressive than tiger.
Oh, yeah?
Laird and my daughter Reese just went, do you know Mike Muller at all? Photographer, shoots sharks.
I know he is.
Okay,
Yeah.
he does amazing stuff, but they go and they hide. So he took Reese and Laird, they went for like 4 days, and they go in the cage with the great whites out at the Galapagos, and they said it's pretty fun. You should do that.
Fuck that.
Come on,
I've
you
seen
could
those
be in the
movies
cage.
where the shark gets mad, fucked up the cage.
Yeah, but people are probably doing stupid things.
Maybe.
No, seriously, no. You'll do things like where guys hit each other in the head, but you won't go sit in a cage.
That seems unreal.
They say that once you see him under, that you have a different feeling. You know, like you're not. It's not that you're not as scared, but you just
Christ.
see him a little differently, not just like a predator.
Right.
Like that you can see the people that I.
Did you hear that Canada, they're banning whale and dolphin captivity?
I think it's great.
I think they do. They apparently just passed.
I mean, how about Blackfish? One documentary, and it like kind of I think initiated a movement.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
People didn't know. They needed to see it in a digestible form. Instead of having to seek it out, read articles about it, news reports, instead of that, they get to see it
There it is.
in a very digestible form. You go, oh my god, this is chaos. This is horrible.
Yeah.
This is an atrocity. You're taking these incredible animals, and probably some of the most magnificent creatures that evolution has ever created, and you're putting them in a fish tank. You're putting them in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
The fins go blank.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Well, and actually, if you think about the killer whale, I mean, that's the king.
Yeah, just a crazy video that I just watched yesterday of one killing a beach seal. It injured the seal, and the seal tried to make it over, and it literally beached itself, smashed the seal, and there's just blood everywhere, and these bunch of people were standing around watching it, going, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then it flopped its way back into the water and swam off.
Did it eat it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, I mean, listen, that's the thing about nature, right? It's kind of brutal, but it's not personal. Like the seal, the you know, the whale's not like, you know, that seal gave me kind of a funny look.
Right.
They go, give it to him. It's like, oh, there's food. Do you ever see the one where they're on the iceberg and they look, well, that fucker's still holding on. And they push it again. I mean,
That was
they're
a mother
smart.
teaching its calves how to hunt too. She was setting it up and showing them you can make them slide. Watch this. Slide. Well, I was listening to my friend Steve Runell's podcast. He was talking about the difference in the orcas in Puget Sound, and that there are local orcas, which are essentially salmon specialists, and they don't eat animals, they don't eat marine mammals. But then there are other ones that travel into the area, and they are marine mammal specialists. So all they eat is like seals and things along those lines. And they have a totally different language. They don't understand each other. They don't interact with each other. And
How's that? Every pod has its own language.
Oh,
They put a whale in the
Christ.
and it was not eating because they didn't know it was a seal eating whale, not a fish eating whale. And so Larry used to joke, can you imagine, like, okay, Susie and Billy, we're gonna go watch the orca, Shamu, and then the trainers are like throwing a seal, like that would not work out. Well, like, yay, get back again.
yeah, give a slab of cute little animal.
Yeah, no. So it's they're very complex.
Well, if it didn't exist, it would be way more interesting than Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody's like so into Bigfoot being real. Like, yeah.
I don't get Bigfoot. Can you talk to me about that? Like, do you think what's the concept of Bigfoot? I mean, I know it's a big, hairy guy, but what, I mean, really, come on, what is it?
Most likely, there was interaction between human beings and something called gigantocricus for thousands and thousands of years. It's a giant bipedal hominid that existed in Asia that was between 8 and 10 feet tall. It was real, and it was basically in like the orangutan family. It looks almost like orangutan, but enormous. And that was a real thing. And they didn't find out about this until like the 1920s. They found a tooth in an apothecary shop in China. And an anthropologist examined this tooth and was like, where the fuck did you get this? And they took him to the site and they dug out more things and bones and jawbones, and they determined from the jawbone, I'm sorry, I'm talking about self-scientists, but they determined from the jawbone that they think it was bipedal. It stood up on 2 legs. And so then they said, well, how big would this thing be? And then we proportioned it.
Yeah, like a femur bone.
Have you ever seen what a real one looks like?
Yeah. Sometimes when they say like, oh, I'm in Michigan, I'm like, is it really like, what are they seeing?
Bullshit. Most of it is people seeing shadows and trees, and they want to believe it's Bigfoot. legs. But if there was a thing, what's really interesting is that's where it would be. Because it did come across the bearing of land bridge, like they believe humans did. If that did happen, many animals navigated through there here, that way. That's where Alaska, Pacific Northwest, that would be the natural path. And then if you think about how densely wooded that area is, that would be a natural habitat for something that's hiding from people. The problem is you can't hide from shit anymore. It's just too hard.
They see it from space.
Something would catch you on a trail camera. There's trail cameras that are everywhere. Did you see those? A guy and his father got caught poaching a mother bear in her den. It's horrific. It's horrible. It's not just horrible because they poached this mother bear in their den and left the babies essentially to die, but they were talking about how they're not going to get caught doing it, like no one's going to tie us to this. And the way they were caught, there was a 4K camera that was right behind them that was observing this whole area where this bear was denned in. They have these trail cameras now that are incredibly accurate. They're so high definition, super clear, the audio's clear. If there was something out there, it would be something.
But I think there is something to be said for the Tooth Fairy and thinking we don't know everything.
Yeah,
like the magic of stuff unknown and behind. I mean, for me, it doesn't have to be Bigfoot, but I love the idea that we haven't seen everything. We don't know everything.
No.
And obviously, we know that space and dimensions and time and universe, but something mythical is pretty fun.
Well, what's interesting is that there was a bunch of different kinds of animals. That's what's interesting. They found these bones in Russia. I think they call them the Denisovians. They found this is within the last 10, 15 years. They found a completely different species of humans that lived in Russia. They found those little people on the island of Flores. That was only like 10 years ago. I mean, there's probably dozens more. They just haven't uncovered somewhere. So if there was at one point in time some big giant hominid, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
I just don't think you'd have to eat so much to be alive today. Be constantly. It's like a bear.
Yeah.
Like you find bear shit everywhere. Where's the gorilla shit? Where's the Bigfoot shit? Whatever it is. Is it eating plants? Is it eating animals? What the fuck is it eating?
Right.
It's gotta eat a lot.
A lot.
That's
I mean, I only have a 6-foot-something husband at home, and he eats a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
I'll surf all day. That dude put it down.
Do you eat a lot? You do?
I eat preposterous amounts of food.
Now, do you eat big each meal, or do you sort of go, okay, dinner, end of day? What's your big meal? Just how you're feeling?
Yeah, it depends. Like sometimes I have giant meals for dinner, but sometimes I work too hard at night. I'll have a giant breakfast.
Right.
But I just do whatever I feel like doing. But I definitely always have intermittent fasting. It's at least 6 days a week. It takes 16 meals. One day.
It's amazing how much food we don't really need.
Yeah, it is amazing.
I used to eat way too much and like way too much protein and stuff when I was going through different phases of training. Now do you go into like autophagy and do all that too?
No. You want to explain that to me?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just one sort of step, just a deeper step when you do a little bit intermittent fasting is if you don't start the digestive process. So if you just have water and caffeine, you can't have fats and things like that. The theory is that whatever cell dysfunction you have, you kind of can bring out kind of 3 times the amount the process of when you do intermittent fasting. So it can be a really effective way when you're intermittent fasting to say, okay, I'm going to pick this 4-hour window. Most people will probably eat between 3 and 7 or 2 and 6, and I'm going to eat, and then the rest of the time I'm not going to. So it's very close. It's just sort of one more twist you can put on it. I think it's like ATO-PO,
So that's a 20-hour fasting window every day.
Yeah, and I have a friend who was doing it pretty regularly, and he looked different.
Really?
Yeah.
In a good way?
Yeah. No, he did. He shifted his body composition a little bit, and it was interesting. And there's some interesting data. I'm sure maybe I can give you the download on it. Yeah, autophagy. It's just sort of like when not tired. It's not fun, but like for me, it would have to be kind of. I would want to eat between 1 and 5. I could do without it the rest of the time, and you can have, like I say, caffeine and water.
It's incredible what a pull mouth pleasure has. Like my kids bought these Entenmann's cupcakes.
Entenmann's, that's like old school.
Yeah, old school. They are bullshit. These cupcakes. They're like those chocolate frosted things.
With the white on top.
Yeah, they're a little white squiggly, and inside is a cream filled. Goddamn, it was delicious. But while I was eating, I was like, "What the fuck are you eating, man? This is all nonsense. You shouldn't even be touching this."
No, but you can't do that. I think once you, because to be pretty strict, Laird's a little more strict than I am. I think if you're gonna eat that cupcake,
enjoy it.
Yeah, I think even having that small conversation with yourself is a colossal waste of time. As you shove it in your mouth and it goes down, it's like, because that's so human, right? Like it's like I shouldn't be doing this, but here I go. It's like why am I doing? Why I shouldn't? It's like I think it's important to do it and enjoy it. But yeah, that's not food. That's like I don't know what that is.
The thing is, like 800 years ago, we had eaten and I was full, but that was so good. Like if someone had cut a piece of steak and put it on there, I'd be like, I'm
stuffed.
But I saw that cupcake.
No, kids are like, I can't eat anymore. It's for dessert. I have a separate space for that. That doesn't change because we're older. I still have a separate space. And just kind of use it so much.
Do they say that for people that are in like competitive eating competitions too? That like you can still eat fries because fries are like fries.
No, I just have the vision of a guy shoving it in the water and then the bun and the hot dog and then like squeezing it down. Yeah. You can eat fries because it's not protein.
No, it's the saltiness and the carbs. You can still eat.
You can always eat a carb.
Now, you ate a steak, right? And that steak was big 18-ounce ribeye. You ate the whole thing like But then you see the fries. Those fries. Dip them in some ketchup. You can keep eating. You can eat 1,000 calories.
Well, that's when you're in that food trance. You get those food trance. Yeah, I mean, I have friends that like you know, if you have any like thing out on the counter, snackish, like you have it for the kids, right? And your friends that come to visit and say hi and they're kind of fidgety, and all of a sudden they're just like eating everything, and you just look at it like, bro, like you're in a constant food, like try and snack it, like don't have snacky, you know, anything around.
They can't help themselves.
Oh no, cannot. Yeah, for sure. No, but I find it easier. I don't know if you found it easier. Like I used to have a really heavy chocolate trip. Heavy, like I used to have a chocolate drawer, like the whole thing. Like drawer? No, for real. Like every kind of chocolate. Like I'd open it, and it wasn't like a thin drawer. It wasn't like a silverware with drawer. It was like a deep drawer with every kind of chocolate. And I mean, stress. You bust up the chocolate, you know, whatever, right before your time. Chocolate. Kid walks in the room and takes something, you're like chocolate. You know?
Oh my god.
So I had every kind.
Does it work?
It does, but then I stopped eating it as much, and now it's like I don't even really want it as much. It's weird. It's
I
not
really, really love dark chocolate peanut butter.
Oh yeah.
Take some dark chocolate,
Oh, just
jam
put it
it
straight
into
on
some
there.
like Jiffy,
Oh, yeah.
some Skippy, some bullshit peanut butter.
Yeah.
I like the crunchy stuff too.
So yeah, because the healthy stuff somehow the oil and the stuff is separate. You need that stuff that has like those unknown chemicals to make it really
Trans fats.
smooth. Like this is natural peanut butter. This isn't good. It's not smooth. Look at that.
See, you have to, with natural peanut butter, you gotta get that fucking butter knife in there.
You're trying to make a sandwich, school lunch with it, you rip a hole in the bread. You're like,
no,
forget it.
It's either too dry or too oily.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's never
And you
perfect.
can't make a sandwich with it. It's
It's
just that
hard.
way.
You gotta stir for. You gotta commit to a 5-minute stir before you ever even think about putting that shit on your bread.
Hey, so you know, I was thinking I wanted to invite you. You can bring whoever you want to come to the training.
What's cool drink? What do you guys do?
Jamie, can you pull up like the training for XPT?
XPT. What does that stand for?
This is another thing that we do, but this is like a 12-year-old from training. We built this pool, and Laird, you know, is always trying to, you know, athletes in their off season, and we were like his crowd, like 6 of our friends. We built this huge pool, and they're like, okay, pick some dumbbells and go down the. There's Kyle.
Kyle
Your guy.
Kingsbury?
Yeah, you big
That's
boy.
my boy.
And he wears his diesel suit, the little
Yeah.
gold suit. And anyway, this is all the shallow stuff, but there's deep water. The girls are going. They have dumbbells in their crotches. Look at Kyle. This is when he was a little bigger still, yeah. Do we have?
What is the idea?
So okay, so there's deep water, like you're 13 feet, you have weights, ballistic training, no punishment to your joints.
Interesting. So
And-
you're doing cleans in the ocean or in the pool. Rather.
Yeah, this is all shallow. There's some deep water stuff, and I'm not sure why that guy is doing.
So you drop the dumbbell all the way down to the
You
bottom.
can,
and
so you have drag and stuff like that, and also it's lighter in the water and heavier out. But this is not the stuff. I mean, this is all good. It increases your lung capacity, things like that. But there is a deep water element where so you can be ballistic and you can do all this stuff, and you don't pound your joints, and you can get stronger. So we have a lot of athletes that come and train so that they can sort of work on some of these elements of their being more dynamic or what have you. If you're in compression, it's pretty cool. So I know you like to do heat stuff, so we'll do like heat nice and then cool and heat nice and cool. It's like it's pretty great, and you're tired, but you're not beat up.
George St. Pierre actually did a lot of that training for his last fight. Did a lot of his work in the pool.
So here's the deeper stuff.
I see.
So you can like, what's cool about this too is that you have to moderate your breath because it's very straightforward. Air, no air, air, no air. And
For people that are just listening to this, we're looking at these guys. It's probably like a 9-foot pool. They have dumbbells in their hands that drop all the way down to the bottom, and then let their knees go to full bend, and then let their heels, and then jump right back up, and then pop out of the water, get a deep breath, and then go right back down again. So you're constantly leaping through the water to go to the surface.
see how the skin ripples? So I actually think it's really attractive for girls. I'll tell you that.
wow, crazy.
Is that think about this? I actually think so. You're in compression, so you've got those benefits, right? And I think your tissue, like your fascia and everything, gets kind of rolled almost in every set.
Would that ripple?
I think so. And that they're more shallow, and then there's deeper and things like that. But there's probably about 35 exercises that we've come up with. They're made us all these crash test dummies. But it kind of makes you feel like $1 million, but you can bust your butt on it.
Right, but you're not getting the pound run.
Well, I already have a thick knee.
Do you really?
Yeah.
When you blow it out?
Well, it was an ongoing since my 20s, and then finally at 46.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, so much better.
Is it?
I used to like sleep with my good leg underneath my knee, trying to open my knee joint because it felt like metal on, like hot metal touching. And then your foot gets heavy. You know, you lose a lot of your function. You tried everything. You know, like stem cell and PRP, and like you try everything. So you don't want to be like getting fake knee.
Right.
And then after a while, I was like, I'm sure there'll be something better in 10 years, but right now let's just do it. So we went in the same day. Actually, they're both sipped on the same day. And I got my
How did Laird injure his head?
repetitive trauma. I mean, you know, Laird is now 55. He was 52 when he got his hip, and he's tough on his body.
Yeah.
He's tough on his body. And then if you're like doing isometric loading, foiling, that one hip's taking a hit, back leg, it's it's a lot of load.
It's amazing though that he's got back to surfing at the same level.
He's very unique. He says that everything he does, like his relationships, what he reads, what he eats, what he spends time doing, is all to enhance him to perform. And a ton of people like this, his ability to deal with discomfort, he has a very good relationship with discomfort. So his training and stuff is.
Mental toughness.
But he's really smart. He's not, you're not his age and foolhardy. He's not like, let me show you what I can do. He's a guy who can call it. He's a guy who can go, yeah, no, it's not a good idea.
So when they do the hip, they have to put that rod to the center of the hip and then put the new joint on the outside.
It's all, he stayed awake. He did a local and he left the hospital 3 o'clock that day. It's carpentry. They whack out the joint.
That's so
Doctor's
crazy.
huge. It's not fine surgery. It's like carpentry. And he stayed awake because the guy's like, okay, you can handle it. The noise or whatever. Yeah, there's like, so same time. And then he was fine, out of hospital.
Wow. How long did it take to rehabilitate?
Not long. I mean, he was, once the incision closed, he could go out in the water. So what's that, 10 days? Hips are pretty cool.
That's crazy that you do that now. I had a buddy who did that. Graham Hancock did that 6 weeks later. He was here. He told me after he was walking around. I was saying, honey, was a hip replacement. But when? 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? You're just walking?
You just don't want to play golf. You walk out of the hospital.
Golf's a bad thing?
Well, let's say if you were loading your hip that you load into, you might want to not do that right away. Sounds weird.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the weird torque on it.
Yeah.
I know guys have gotten back to jiu-jitsu with bad hips.
Oh, yeah.
Back to rolling training.
It's, what they basically tell you is you don't want to do anything you wouldn't want to do with your real joint. Like the guy's like, so if you ever got into a car accident, you wouldn't want your knees to go back and in towards your hips. Like, okay, well, I don't think I want that to happen. Natural fit. So I think they're pretty good.
Is it significantly weaker?
No, not at all.
Not at all? So
no.
you can do basically everything?
You can do everything. And he had a pretty wicked limp. The two of us were limping around for like 2 years. It was really cool. People were like, hey, you guys are those like athletes, right? That couple of them were like hobbling around. We're like, yeah, stay right there. We'll be right there. It was just like brutal. Our kids were like, what are you going to do? Like, I'm just going to run away, like, run away. Stop it right there,
So what can you do now with your knee? Can you do all the things you used to be able to do?
Yeah, it'd be bottom for jiu-jitsu guys. Kneeling is kind of not the best. Like we said, I'm giving $1 million cash right now. Child's supposed to. That's tough.
Really?
Yeah, that's tough.
What part hurts?
I think for me, it's also part of my biomechanics that the tissue on my quads is like probably like beef jerky from jumping all those years. So that's something I'm always working on. So maybe a more flexible person going in would have more mobility in that bench position. But it just, you get a hard finish on it, on the joint. But I think it's pretty amazing what you can do. Like, it's pretty far out.
Can you sidestep and stuff like
Yeah, I
that?
can play volleyball if I want to. Yeah, you can jump and land and be hard on it. And
Really?
Jump, do plyos and stuff. Yeah.
So they basically say just do stuff that you would do normally with your knee.
Yeah, I mean, yes, be intelligent. Like, you probably wouldn't want to go, I'm an ultra-marathoner now.
Right.
Because you might wear your joint out for 2 years.
Right.
But I think if you said, I really like to run, but I'll go on the grass or the sand barefoot, probably better. Stuff like that. But that's what you want to do, again, anyway.
Yeah.
Running's pretty tough on you.
Yeah, it's not just stuff on the knees, it's stuff like that, stuff everywhere, hard surface.
7 times your body weight, right? Like each step. I mean, unless you're built, like when you see those people that are built to run.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah, so that was sort of, I think that's what's interesting about being these people. Oh, I'm an athlete, and then it's like, and some days I'm sure you feel this way. It's like I feel so unathletic or so banged up, or like I have friends that came pretty late, and everything, all their joints are like all perfect, and they work perfectly, and sometimes I felt a little beat up. Laird's been beat up a lot, but he kind of ran his way out of it.
Now, when you guys are on Kauai, is there a lot of resources in terms of like places to train or physical therapists or any of that kind of stuff?
No, I think the other islands like Oahu and Maui, they would certainly have it. I actually, this group that owns this business there let me use the warehouse, and I taught class 3 days a week for free. So they were covered under my insurance because we have so little training. Like we have a gym and stuff, but like the community on the north didn't really. So I started doing that like 3 days a week to get people. There's like 100 of us at the same time. Cool. It was really cool. But because they don't have they don't have really great facilities. Is it?
Kind of badass.
But don't you think, like, when I go to New York City with Laird, he looks there and he looks at the buildings and he's like, why do people do this to themselves? Like, we've gotten twisted around, like, you're like, Kauai, what a weird place to live.
Right.
But in a way, it's probably closer to how we're meant to live.
Oh, for sure.
Stacked up on top of each other. But having said that, yeah, compared to the other parts of the world, I mean, it's remote. Like, you're out there. I think besides Easter Island, it's like the most remote place in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? That's interesting. But it makes sense.
Yeah. It's far. I mean, they navigated there, and they said that the sea level was lower so that they could see more land. And the Polynesians stay out there, but it's pretty. It's a pretty interesting contrast to living like in Malibu, let's say. But then in a way not, because you're surrounded by nature.
Right. Yeah, I think it's probably a far more healthy way to live. I just know that a lot of people do get that island fever, and they can't take it, and they fuck off.
Yeah, and like when you have a family, like when my kids were young, it's like you're doing the same thing. You're taking them places, you're making dinners, you're making lunches. So in a way, you're just doing sort of everyday things in a really pretty place, and also you probably live a little simpler.
Yeah, it's got to be better for you in terms of like the amount of stress that you experience, and the beauty of nature is very calming, soothing, and probably therapeutic and beneficial.
Yeah, but it's that reminder. I mean, this has been the thing for me. It's like you can have all that at your access, but if you haven't dealt with yourself, if you feel miserable, it sort of doesn't really matter. And I think that kind of place points it out really quick. Where when you live in a busy place, you can distract yourself from yourself, and you can be like, oh, there's traffic, and I have stuff to do, and I'm busy. I'm a busy person. I'm at an office. I do all this stuff. And when you're there, you can't blame really the traffic. You sort of have to go, oh, that's right. So it's an interesting thing of when we talk about like health or beautiful places and things like that. It still always comes back to yourself and like, have I made myself happy? Am I doing things that make me feel good? Things like that. So I think what's really great about that place is that gets clear real quick.
You guys have real internet out there?
Totally.
Like legit internet?
I mean, we had dial-up till about 18 months ago.
For real?
No.
But I mean, do you have high-speed internet? So like it is in
I think
America?
we're like 5G or whatever. They had that blanket over us there, but it's like a mind control 5G net or whatever.
Everybody's worried about that.
I
That's
know.
the
I have
latest
a friend
conspiracy theory.
freaking out about it.
5G. Well, we did read something about they do have the ability. It does have an effect on human brains.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like pretty weird.
We're gonna do ourselves in one day with innovation. We're gonna keep going.
Absolutely.
Until one day we've fucked ourselves sideways.
I think that's the way that it goes, right? Like you get so smart that you evolve. Like, when I was a kid, we had a Mad magazine, and I'll never forget it. I was like 11 years old, and there was a sketch of this explosion in space, and there was like 2 aliens talking to looking at this explosion, millions of miles away, and they go, oh, these hit smart human beings live there. Pretty much. I mean, I think that in a way they're probably. I mean, we do a lot with water and air and things like that, but it is interesting to see. I'm always fascinated that people will do stuff for money. Guys running companies and they go, well, it's great about the pollution or the byproduct. And you go, yeah, but your kids or your grandkids, like money's not going to protect you from if the climate goes bizarre.
Yeah, but they feel like someone else can fix that.
They do?
I gotta say, it's money.
You think?
I get that money. Yeah, I think it's just compartmentalization. Just don't think about the. Also, they're part of a corporation.
Right. And everybody does their little task. Right.
Yeah.
But it does turn me out. Like, you go, like, we say the rain falls on everyone's house. Like, it's coming for everybody. No matter how much cheese you have.
Well, it's also the effect that we've had on it is been this real. It's not coming along. Massive effect. Unbelievably massive effect on the environment. Just a short window of time in terms of, when I'm sure you saw Giro Drew sushi.
Yeah, of course.
Great, right?
Yeah.
When they're sitting around talking about the fish market back in the day, you get so much more tuna. Like one day,
it's fished out.
This is when you're alive, man. So when this guy's during his lifetime, he went from abundance of tuna to being almost fished out.
Yeah.
And they're not slowing down. Sushi's everywhere. It's like,
I know what we've done in 30 years is pretty far out.
it's crazy.
I know. It's it's funny because my kids. I don't know if you see this with your kids. It's like I think they're pretty aware of it, and they. I think that they go flip and flop between feeling like the adults are poorly behaved and they're left with a pile of of our bad decisions, and also like my one daughter's like, do you think it'd be okay to be like a militant environmentalist? She's like 6 feet tall. And I'm like, that'd be fantastic. Sea shepherd on steroids, like
Right.
So I think it's gonna be interesting to see the next group because they're obviously really different. Like, they don't want big giant houses and all that stuff that sort of my generation and your generation thought.
So you think the new generation is different in their values and what they
I do,
support?
right? They say that they give more, they volunteer more. I think the tricky thing for them is going to be connection and being able to be connected and being able to have real conversation and, even be able to concentrate long enough to be with somebody.
Because of devices?
Yeah, I mean, I think could you imagine right now if you were 20?
No.
And being like dating and swiping and trying to pay attention?
Or even 10. My daughter's one of the few girls in the class that doesn't have a cell phone.
What's the age that they get them?
They've had them since they were like 7.
No, I mean,
My kids.
like, what's the rule in your house?
There's a debate right now. Trying to figure it out.
Well, okay, so you have a 10-year-old going to be an 11.
Yeah, I think that they say there's like a movement, wait till 8. Yeah, you heard that?
Yeah, like 10 kids in the class, all the parents agree, so they're not the only person in the class that doesn't have it.
But it's not that way with my daughter's kids. The kids in the class, most of them have phones. Most parents just keep a kid home.
Yeah.
It's just there's have you read any of Jonathan Haidt's stuff with coddling the American
Yeah, of
mind?
course.
And that is just so disturbing. You see the amount of, especially young girls that are growing up depressed, cutting themselves, self-harm.
What's that, like 400%? He said, like from 10 to 14 or
something crazy like that.
Like something insane.
Massive spike that directly coincides with the invention of smartphones and social media.
Yeah, the slot machine.
Yeah, it's this thing where people are just trying to get likes and trying to leverage their their social status and try to pretend that they're living in a perfect world, everybody around them, and everyone else is doing it. People look at people's lives being perfect and they reflect upon their own and get depressed. There's just so many factors that kids didn't have to deal with just a decade or so ago. It's really,
and it's
really
never
new.
off, right? Like, at least if I had a hard time at school, I could go home and have a reprieve from it, at least overnight. I think for me, that's been a thing with my kids, is like, especially daughters. I understand the gaming is different for boys and pornography and things like that, and that whole trip of rewiring their brain. But I think with girls, it's like, how do you get them to hear their own voice? I don't know how they're going to get to a place where because it's like this weird mishmash of like Me Too, and then never before had people objectified themselves more because they get that positive affirmation. Like I always say, if I put out really smart ideas, if I'm a young woman, I have 1,000 followers. Every shot is of my butt. I have 10 million followers. So we have this mixed message going on with this like, I'm angry, need to treat me equal, simultaneously to I'm going to objectify myself in the most hardcore way more than in any time in history.
With spectacular results.
And it's really, for me as a female who understands both those sides a little bit, it kind of trips me out. Because I don't think you, like those girls, playing that card and have no violence should be done to you, and I agree with all of that and no is no and all of that. But at a certain point, like you've had Jordan Peterson on here many times, like biological signaling, it's like, play a side at least. And also, that one side is super short-lived. That's what I try to tell my girls. I'm like, yo, listen, if you're pretty girls, it's great, but if that's the card you're playing, your card's done by the time you're 30, 35. It's done, over. Unless you're like 40 and you're
Or
whatever.
getting enough porn.
Is that such a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but even that, it's like, they gotta put a filter on it and like all that stuff. I mean, come on. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, at a certain point, how you get these girls to go, hey, stand up for yourself, be strong, but, like, what are you doing?
But look at all these people that are not doing that, that are benefiting.
I know, but it's getting them to understand how you get a 13-year-old to talk about the long game.
Right.
I mean, everything's immediate, but for me, it's like, it's culturally, I feel like I'm this weird mix of like I came through the most modern time, like when I went to school and scholarships, and like there was no thought to being like strong, not really. And then, but then weirdly, it's like I feel so kind of old-fashioned when I see kind of this next thing. And I'm like, well, strong for me was something else. Strong was like you were really physically strong, kind of have a strong mind, strong basis of a person. And then, okay, then there was this other side, like your femininity, your sexuality, all this other stuff. And now it's like, I don't know, it's very interesting.
Well, there's certainly a bunch of different kinds of people, right? There's going to be people that gravitate towards objectifying themselves. There's going to be people that gravitate in this day and age towards, when you see a lot of people pages just filled with motivational posts, inspirational things, and and stories about people that they meet, and photos. You get a lot of people that are attracted to that kind of stuff too. It's just you're not gonna get the immediate gratification of a picture of your ass. That picture of your ass gets 100,000 likes. Like, wow, likes.
Yeah.
And it's just a different vibe. And you have to decide what do you have to. You have to quantity or quality. You're trying to accurately express how you feel and work it out through communicating with people and figure out how they react to what you're saying and how you feel about how other people say similar things and how it does good things for you and you want to do good things for them. Or do you just want to have so piece of nail floss and crack your ass, sticking it in front of the camera. There's
No, and I get that. Like I get also, like I always say, when you're a young woman, you sort of get this new car and you're like, well, what happens? Like, what if I put my phone in gas? Like you're sort of checking it all out. Like, would they respond like this if I do that? Like that's completely natural. But then at a certain point, I don't know. The input is like, like who do you want to be? And not based on what everyone thinks about you, like what actually turns you on and makes you feel excited and stoked. Because it's great that you have a nice butt, but there's a lot of nice butts, and in the end, that's not what bring you that other feeling.
The problem is that there's a thrill to positive reaction.
Absolutely.
And that thrill is undeniable.
I would like it. It's too old.
and when people get that thrill, and you tell them, hey, that thrill's bad for you, like, fuck off, mom.
No, I mean a bolt on to that message. What bad? Like get the thrill, but simultaneously doing the thrill, maybe have some other thoughts about where you like to continue to journey to.
But I think when you tell that to a 13-year-old, they hear it eventually.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, like, hey, I got this. And then later, when it all goes sideways, like, goddamn, shit, this is not.
Yeah, I think you just gotta be it too, and have some like cool friends that hang around you. Because if you're the parent, it's like, okay, you're gonna penetrate so much. If you've got some like who I call aunties, if you got some badass chicks around you and your daughters are looking, they see.
Right.
They see. But if you don't have access to that, I have a lot of pretty strong, cool women around me. But not that it concerns me. I don't want to say that. It's just how do you help the next group? Try to be a good example, love on them, but get them to teach them to love them themselves.
Right.
That's all. And I don't mean eyelash extensions. Perfect thing. I mean love on yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Is distortion of natural beauty. Make it so that everything has to be artificial. The color of your lips, the color of your eyeshadow, fake lashes, everything is just. That doesn't look better. It just looks different.
Do you think I'm always fascinated with men think? Like, do they even does it even register? Do they know what's going on?
In what way?
Well, I guess we'd have to ask men of that generation if, let's say they had two groups of women and one that was like perfectly coiffed with a lip injection.
Coiffed.
And is it? I like that I'm talking about like eyelash extensions, Joe, but like just sort of really done, like ready for the club, let's just say. And then just like a girl like, hi, I'm a sweaty runner, and now I'm gonna go to the office and put my hair up. Like, whatever. If guys, if they even can make tell the difference.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's all what you're into.
What you're into.
Yeah. Some guys just like I'm soft and made up. Some guys like I'm sweaty and muscular.
Yeah. No, and I get all that. I love that. I just mean, again, it's hardcore signal, and I guess maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the new biology.
But it's also that there's never been a time, like I had the other bit on one of my Netflix specials where about this girl who got just pictures of her ass, she had like 9 million followers on Instagram. Like, there's never been a person like this before. This is a new kind of person. Looking at these frogs on Amazon and no one's gonna say, there's a new kind of person.
Yeah.
This girl just has pictures of her butt, and she's got millions of people staring at her all day long. Every day is just new pictures of her butt.
That's a great point. I was intrigued how they decide, like, oh, we're going to do the butt on the beach. Now let's do the butt next to the puppy. It's like, I'm so confused how they keep getting ideas. I can't even say for different things. And it's like, I know we'll do butt with the cotton candy. It's like, okay, I don't know.
But I think it becomes an obsession. I mean, I think you have to stay fresh with new butt ideas.
Is that
really
it? Or do you have like a butt editor? Hey, butt editor. So what do you do? Hey, what's going on? The head butt editor here.
What the fuck?
Butt.com, I don't know.
If you have a girl who has, let's say some of these girls have millions of followers, and they're making millions of dollars.
I know they're crushing it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're actually the smartest people, and I haven't caught on yet.
It's certainly an easy path to finances.
I know, right?
If you have a great ass and you like working out anyway, and you just want to take pictures of it, and also need 25 million followers, damn.
This was also, okay,
What
now,
should you do? Quit that job?
no, definitely not, because she can say, well, I'll do that right thing with the library. I'm not suggesting that. It's just, I mean, if it was my kid, I'd be like, sweetie, you might want to weigh out the economics on this.
Right.
But I think you said something really important. It's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
And I think, however, it's sort of like the communication you were having, which is, well, what is success? And for me, that's all. It's like getting people, encouraging them, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. You said this, like, oh, you do the show whether anyone you're listening or not, most likely, right?
Probably.
I mean, until you can afford it anymore, let's just say, but obviously.
I would do it just after conversations.
That's
do it,
right.
Maybe I wouldn't do it as much, but I would definitely do it.
Right.
If I had, like, if someone said, hey, every few months a physicist will come in and sit down with you for 3 hours, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, well, you're bringing information to you and learning to you.
Yeah.
So for you, part of your definition, that's success.
Yeah.
And so I guess that is the conversation, because we always have this thing, this obvious thing of like success is either is notoriety, it's power, it's money, and then you get those other communications about like the pursuit of something that really genuinely brings you on.
Well, I think people get short-sighted, and you definitely can get success where you just have money, and you just have objects, and you have notoriety, and people will view it as success.
Right.
But if you're not doing what you love, it's not pure success. It's a different kind of success. Like, if you really find something that you enjoy doing, and then you take that, like Laird has with surfing, or many people have with their passions, and then you become successful through that, it's a different existence, because it's a pure existence. Like, when I do stand-up comedy, or if I do like a commentary for the UFC, it's a pure enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It's genuine.
That comes across.
I don't have to fake it. I enjoy doing it. That's, to me, I know everybody can't do that,
No.
or everybody feels like they can't do that, or they haven't figured out how to do that yet. But if you can, if there's a thing you can do it. Maybe I would have made more money if I went into the stock market. Maybe I would have made more money if I was a banker. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But I definitely wouldn't be as happy. There's no way. If I'm the same person I am now, and I was in a fucking office all day making 100 times as much money, I'd be miserable.
And I think that, I guess for me, that's maybe when I see the thing with the girls and like I said, feeling sensitive to it because I have daughters, or just young people in general, it's that conversation of like, you know, just keeping that definition of success open. And by the way, this other path, taking it, like following your own instincts or desires or passion, there's elements to that that are harder for sure. It's more unknown. You can feel insecure, like, is this the right thing to do? I mean, in our house, we've gone through that 50 different times. You know, it's like, I'm going to do this because I really want to. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to be successful. I might even lose money. Who knows? But then once you start to do it, or you do it once or twice, then you go, oh, it's so worth trying.
If you can pull it off, that's the thing. But if everything worth doing is hard to do,
Everything. But by the way, we've pursued 10 businesses, and like one is really thriving, 2 are doing well, and the rest, like, we ate it.
Yeah.
We ate it in cash, we ate it in time, we did. So I think that's the other thing that's important is like, hey, you know, it's like sports. How many times, you know, do you lose too? You lose a lot in order to win. And I think that's something that for me, like with my girls, it's like, hey, just try to work really hard and hear your own voice and follow that if you can, and it is scary. I think it's scary.
you're also a person who's had that opinion reinforced through vigorous work over the years. I mean, you're a super successful competitive athlete, which is one of the most difficult things for a person to do, to like, force your body to perform better than everybody else. Figure a way to win, figure a way to get points scored, figure a way where all these other people who are also high-level athletes are trying to stop you from doing it, figure out a way to succeed. And you kind of fucking fail. There's no way around it. You're going to have ups and downs, but you're going to understand the value of pursuit, dedication, and discipline. And your kids are going to see that. Like, they must know their mom is a badass.
No,
They have
well, I don't
they have to
know.
kind of understand who you are.
Yeah, no, yes and no. I think it's interesting because then, you know, like how sons can push against dads and a dad's identities, right?
Sure.
There's times, not my youngest and less my oldest, but my middle went through a phase where it was like she was almost like, I'm gonna knock her off her.
High horse?
No, like my real estate it was my real estate, and it's like, and you know she's a big strong kid, but then I think she realized like, oh no, this is more about me finding my own real estate. Like my mom did that because that was what my mom had to do and what was good at, and that was my thing. And it was, but there was a minute that I think, listen, no kid looks at their parent that they actually live with, by the way, and is like, yeah, they're cool. It was just no. I mean, like if I deserted them and called like 4 times a year, they'd be like, it's my mom, she's on the phone, and she's in the country. They're like, yo, get me some water, I'm going to bed. Like, you know, it's like it's no different in any house. And by the way, I have this new thing I'm doing right now with my youngest daughter. She can get me, like she can get me, like, you know, business. But literally, we are not allowed to ride in the car together anymore. Like we come home from one ride from school, and I'm on the mats, right? This kid is like, because we're very similar, and she just works me. And then
Did she work you with just you and her alone, or with
of
other
course.
kids? Oh,
No, especially. She's no dummy. This kid is so smart. We always joke, I like, Brody will run something. I just want her to have friends. Hopefully, you know, that she's pretty radical. And she always gives you this look too while she's carving you up. It's like this slight smirk on her face, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill this kid, you know. And then you think, I've been around. I'm trying to be involved, and I don't think I'm having a, you know, influence. I should be balanced and calm. I think I meditated this morning, and I'm like 4 seconds, and I'm like, you know, like myself. It's like. And
you know,
so,
when she buns it becomes a little sport for him.
oh yeah, so no, okay, so this is the best. So I go, okay, Larry was telling me a story years ago. He went down a river raft, went down the rapid and got hit against a rock, okay? And he was waiting on his back, and he's like pushing the rock and pushing, couldn't get off, okay? And he said he had this image of like a skeleton like on the rock, you know, like water just pounding on it, you know, like UFOs and stuff. And he said he moved his foot, and his whole body slipped out. And so he said, when I see my youngest daughter, I'm gonna look at my foot. Because I keep pushing and prodding, and she's just coming. You know, she's a hydraulic, like it's not stopping, it's not ceasing. Like she's younger than me, she has more energy, she's faster. I mean, you know. And so I go, I'm just gonna look at my foot, like literally to the point where even if I need physical heal, like if she's standing there doing some of her weird bullshit, I'll just be like looking at my foot just to give a trigger. Like after a trigger, like, I'm a parent. I'm like against the ropes like everybody else. And so, and I have a partner who supports me and says to me like, that's not that strong of a game, Dad. And so, you know, we'll get into it, and I'll go to pick her up. And my whole thing is when I talk to my kids in the morning, the first thing I would say, hey, good morning. Like, I try really hard to be the adult and to be the parent, right? Like, that's what I really want to do. Like, I really want to show up as the adult. And flawed be it, I still be like, you know what, at least she's acting like that one. And so, she'll get in the car, and I'm like, hi, honey, how's your day at school? Like, I even know the date nice tone and everything. Yeah, I don't really, listen, I spent almost 7 hours there. I really don't want to talk about school. It's like a colossal waste of time.
How old is she?
11. She's like, and then she says to me yesterday, I'm not exaggerating, she goes, you know, if you, listen, no offense, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm not trying to be rude. If you can't talk, I don't get to talk that much. It seems like a waste of time.
Talking is a waste of time.
That's what she said. She's very self-contained. I'm thinking, true that, but okay. So then I'm like, all right, resolution strategy. So I go, oh, it's cool. I can be self-contained. Like, I'm cool. I don't need, like, oh, sweetie, I care. No problem. I just click over a little bit into my mail. Like, okay, drive this car, maybe drive a little faster. Let's go. And within 3 minutes, somehow, all the things I said I wasn't going to get bored into, nothing, I'm going to wiggle my foot, all this like philosophical stuff, I've been reading books, she gets me. And she's like 95 pounds, and she gets me. She's my only kid that gets me like this, and it's literally like if you went into a restaurant and you said, okay, I'm not gonna order the lasagna and the hamburger and double fries with the chili sauce, and you walk in and you go, I'll take the lasagna and the hamburger. It's like the one thing I said, and she gets me every time. So that's something I'm always really trying to figure out, and also like to back away from. This lady actually, you should have her on your show. Have you ever heard of Myron Katie? No. You gotta get her. She taught me a lot of stuff, but it's basically like, and men do this better generally, and yes, there are women that do it as well as men. I'm not getting into all that, but it's like surrendering. Like maybe my kid's gonna grow up, and they're gonna be completely different than what I thought, or what they would be, or my expectations. And that's actually probably closer to the real thing. So I can be, going through sports. I was like volleyball. It is. It's just very straightforward. Right. Take the ball, hit the line. Yeah. Take the ball, hit the other line. Oh, okay. So that was. Did you do that? No, I didn't hit the line. Okay, hit the line.
Is your 11-year-old involved in sports?
Oh yeah, the worst sport ever.
What sport?
Horses. It's like beauty pageants on big animals. It's the worst. Parents don't think it's cute to take 6-year-olds and think, oh, it's so sweet to get them go ride horses, because then they fall in love with horses, and then they want better horses, and then they want pretty horse pants and then boots.
My friend's daughter's in the horse,
It'll kill you.
horse game.
I have to say to her, I'm sorry you weren't born to billionaires. I'm really so sorry for you. It's pretty heavy. My middle daughter is tennis, and she's pursuing tennis. And I'm trying to figure out how to manipulate my young one out of away from horses. And she'll say to me, anything it's a phase.
Make it not phase.
And that's like, no, do whatever you want, but you have to use your own body. I go, you're using the body before. I'm talking about, doesn't it frustrate you? I even tried this. I can't believe I'm doing this. I mean, I thought you guys love the animals. Like really love horses. And you're doing this. Not good for horses. They land on the same foot. She's like, they jump in nature. I go, they don't, not 100 pounds on their back. They don't land on the same leg. I tried that. I can't do that anymore. That's not fair. And then, I totally. And then the other thing I tried is, doesn't it irritate you if you are on a horse and you were more talented as an athlete, or you could train harder, but your horse wasn't as good? And she just looks at me like, I'm gonna ride this out. She doesn't care. Nothing. That's her. Because that's what frustrates me. Imagine if it was like, I had a better gi than you, so I could kick your ass.
Reminds me of BioShock. Wow. Wow. Oh my. I was supposed to go down and then go up.
And so we finally made it back to the boat after a harrowing, exhausting adventure. I bet your dogs are barking. I mean, let's face it, most of that ordeal was unpleasant to the point of sucking a whole lot. But now it's time to relax in the forbidden moonlight of yesterday's promises, whatever that means, and treat ourselves to a nice big mug of hot cocoa. What do you say, Hattie? But Hattie wasn't his normal jovial self anymore, children. He didn't say a word. He didn't even respond to hugs. Freaking hugs! He loves hugs. But he wasn't moving. He wasn't even blinking. Where's he gone to? Where?
To heaven.
Give me that funky beat. So now it's come to an end. We tried so hard, but lost it all. And you were my best friend. You were my Hattington. Hattie Hattington. And when you reached for help, we were too late to take your hand.